fucking delight. Trial watching trials and tribulations. It's Camp Shorty calling all nations. What are you drinking? Shall we skip this part? Left or right-handed? Shit, she slid it to the start. She's a fucking professional. Yo, goddammit. You're muted, what? And daring, it's iconic. Cheese breaks, faith breaks, staying hydrated. It's Shorty time. She's a fucking delight. Psychology corner. Let's learn about stuff. New Miss Shorty music. Calling their bluff. Best chat, best community. We've got the best mods. A safe supported sanctuary full of fun and love. Rock out with your cats out. Curse all you want. And here at Camp Shorty, we even say God. She's a fucking professional. You goddammit. You're muted, what? And daring, it's iconic. Cheese breaks, faith breaks, staying hydrated. It's Shorty time. She's a fucking delight. Hey, Shorties, what's going, y'all? Get in here, Shorties. Let's fucking go. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty. Bait and switch, which is which? Up, down, turn around. Ruminating, percolating, treading ancient ground. Lion, beauty, butterfly, monarch, queen, don't ask her why. Pull her wings off, pin her down, tree falls in forest, not a sound. First time blip, second it's coincidence, third time it's a pattern so uplifted. Nope, not here for your shit. Devil you know becomes the devil you keep. Tossing, turning, losing sleep. Cocoon abandoned, it ain't random. Now I'm counting sheep. Good, bad, shape shifting. Yes, no vampire grifting. Mirror, hold it up. Narcissist, oh hey, what's up? First time blip, second coincidence, third time it's a pattern validated. Nah, not here for your shit. Devil you know becomes the devil you keep. Tossing, turning, losing sleep. Cocoon abandoned, it ain't random. Now I'm counting sheep. Good, bad, shape shifting. Yes, no vampire grifting. Mirror, hold it up. Narcissist, oh hey, what's up? First time blip, second coincidence, third time it's a pattern so uplifted. Yep, you can keep your shit. How dare you search it? That's assault. Took a minute, now revolt. Walking, running, breaking through. 'Cause in the
Oh my god. Oh my god, I've missed you all so much. Poppy has too. Hi. Buster has too. Hi. Happy Friday. It's that day in Australia. What's going on, everybody? Oh, magic. Thank you, Ms. What the Fuck, backstage extraordinaire, executive producer extraordinaire. Hey God, you know the drill. Pig's ears. We go through a lot. Finally, my fringe has grown long enough that I can have it out. Yikes! I want to get the scissors onto it and here you go. Yum. And thin it out a bit, but step away from the scissors, Shorty. Hi. Who's here? My mouse isn't. Step up to the game, sir. Hi, Butterfly. Good to see you, life artist. Simi. Dave's channel. Missed you too. I missed you too. I was just bopping backstage to bait and switch. It's been a while since we've listened to Hey Shorties, our OG, well, our most recent OG intro. Hi, Shelley. Good to see you. Princey, Joe Schmo. Who else? Love this one. I see Salty's in the house. Let me scrolling. Salty Sleuth investigates. Salty, sidebar. Tomorrow night, I'm going to schedule a whole separate live stream after my currently scheduled 6 p.m. Eastern live. So I'm going to recap, or we Shorties are going to recap. What did Shelley call it? A snooze fest? I mean, snooze fest other than Shannon one in. Anyway, we'll do that first, and then I think I'll probably make it for 9 Eastern that we can have our own separate stream. Okay, Salty? I think that's best because we can't wait to hear where you're at with things now, rather than have it all in one long. If people don't want to come to the recap, they just want to see you, they can, or both. So yes, missed you too. Colors. Wait, colors. Thank you, darling. Caveman, hi. Good to see you. I'm going to have to put my spectacles on any minute. Sounds good. Awesome. I've got a few. You know what? It's been a while. I've got a couple of stories. I've got one to save for tomorrow night because lol. But chat. You know Poppy and Buster. Everybody knows Poppy and Buster, right? They're these two big buffoon dingleberries. And hi, Gerda. Good to see you. And I love them dearly. They're giant dogs. Well, Buster's giant. Poppy's just big in personality, and she's got great boobs. But I've been hankering for a while for a little dog, like a little dog as well. Because wouldn't that be hilarious to have these two gigantic bulls in China shops and then a tiny little dog? I think it'd be hilarious. And when you've got, like, what's the difference, right? I've got 2. What's the difference? 3. Surely a little dog can't eat walls. Anyway, so I think it was Wednesday, so middle of the week for me. I was at work, and we were standing up near that hectic main road that some of you might know. Hi, life artist. Good to see you, by the way. And the girl, she's 27. That's a girl. Offsider, Rihanna. She's from Scotland. Wee lass. Another dog since Princey. Wait, it's a funny story. Don't worry. Hang on. We're about to go on a roller coaster of emotions like I did. So I was kind of down a little way from the big main road, trundling with giant semi-trailers, big rigs, never-ending trucks. If you're in the Discord, you will have seen some of my bloody... I want another cat as well. I have Tim as well. I know. Menagerie. Let's go. So Rihanna goes, oh my goodness. I can't do Scottish accent, but she's like, oh my goodness, there's a dog running up along the road. And I looked, and across the main road, 3 lanes of awful, was this tiny little sausage dog, black and brown, just like, and I was like, oh, there was clearly no owner. And I was like, oh my God. So I literally ran across the road, traffic. No, I'm good. I didn't get taken out by a semi-trailer yet. Ran across the road, and like he's just fast as his little legs can take. And I'm like, oh my goodness. He went onto the road. I was like, oh, and then he came back off the road, and there was this young man. I mean, sidebar, he was very young, but he was very early graying. I got the neurodivergent vibe of him straight away, not because of the gray hair, just because. And I go, oh, is that your dog? And the little thing was like kind of, being terrified from these giant trucks and two humans. And he said no. And I'm like, I took my hard hat off, because dogs and cats usually are a bit scared of and humans of my giant hard hat with a sun visor, sun brim. Threw it on the ground. I was like, hey, baby, hey, baby, hey, baby, hey, baby. And he was like, it was a she, not it, she. She cowered down on the ground, on the nature strip, on the grass. And I picked her up. And I held her up, and I'm like, it's a girl. I was like, the universe has delivered me a tiny dog. Oh my God. And this guy goes, my girlfriend's home. Would you like me to take it inside and look, she can look after it? I'm like, and I held the little sausage dog closer, and I said, no, it's okay. And he goes, we should find its owner. I'm like, yes, we should. And he started walking back up the street, the road, from whence this little gorgeous little quivering thing. It was very underweight. It was probably a teenage puppy, right? It's a sternum, its chest bone here was protruding. I thought it was a stray dog. Like, it looked underfed. It was tiny. It wasn't a tiny puppy. It wasn't chubby, but it wasn't a full-grown sausage dog either. She clearly was just exactly Princey. And I'm like, oh, and I snuggled her in, and she just nestled into my shoulder. She was the perfect little size. My brain's going, oh, I manifested a tiny dog. And this fucking good Samaritan, like, I'm a good person, right? But come on now. This is all in the universe's plan. He starts walking up the street. And he goes, we should find the owner. We should look for it. It has to have come from somewhere. I'm like, yes, we should. So he's powering up the street, and I'm like, where did you see it come from? Because I only saw it crossing the side street, like the T intersection, the little suburban street, and that's where I started running for it. And he keeps walking. I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm going to call her Blossom. What can I feed her when I get home? She won't want to have fresh lamb chops. So I'm thinking, well, there is some canned dog food. We can start with that. Blossom, the dogs are gonna love her. Oh my God, where could she? Maybe she should stay in the front room just for the first few days. Yes, and we're walking, and I'm like, and I'm thinking, like, honestly, if this good Samaritan guy, like, I was going straight to my work vehicle, putting this little doll. I might have even said, I'm sorry, I've got to go. It was about 1:00 in the afternoon. Sorry, I got to go. Bye, miss me. Kept walking. I'm like, I'll call the council to report a lost dog. I wasn't going to call the council. Keep walking, and then this guy, another guy, a full Dero, we would like a full, I don't know, he just a rough looking guy. I don't know what you'd call it in America. Like, not I don't know. He was just rough as guts, right? Comes right up near the corner of the very top. This little dog had gone a long way. Like, again, I don't know, yards, meters, almost the same. Let's say 500 yards. Is half a kilometer it had gone. And there's this guy frantically comes out, and he goes, oh! And I'm like, I wanted to turn around and take the little dog away. Blossom, her name is now. And he goes, oh my God. And I'm like, is this your dog? And he goes, it's my girlfriend's dog. I opened the gate. I'd already Blossom, Princey. Her name was Blossom. And I'm like, so in my life,
man. I truly hate him.
In my life, I'm very good at manifesting. I was this close. I manifested it, but then, my goodness, the universe goes, you wouldn't be able to live with yourself. Sidebar, I would have 1,000,000,000% been able to live with myself. Fuck. I was like greedy. I was like, oh, I was just going, oh my God. In those 3 minutes, it was no more than 3 minutes. Oh, so that, it was the most beautiful little thing. I'm not necessarily a sausage dog person, whatever. I would be more of like I used to have a mini chihuahua, a mini foxy chihuahua cross, Ellie. She was beautiful. She lived to almost 17. Oh, the roller coaster. And I was just like so down in the dumps for the rest of the afternoon, like, oh, anyway, that's my dog story. Hi, Nina. Good to see you. Yikes. Blossom is a heartbreaker. I was like, I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe it. I've manifested a tiny dog. I always yearn to find a tiny, like a kitten or a puppy. Buster's like, but I'm your number one. Buster, Blossom, and Poppy. See? Anyway, thanks for coming to my devastating roller coaster of emotions. Yeah, fuck. And honestly, I felt like going, sir, we'll get your fucking girlfriend to feed your fucking dog because it's very underweight. It borderline looked like a stray dog because of how skinny it was. Like, I know dogs, it was underweight. So Gerda says, Gerda in South Africa, mind you, says, I have a Yorkie Pekingese cross. Sweetest doggo ever. Yes. Joe Schmo says, wait, I can't. Time to get real about things. I need my glass. Oh, that didn't really help. Shit. I had a dream last night that I adopted 2 new little doggos to replace Charlie. Oh, it was bittersweet. I don't know how to feel. Roller coaster is right, especially once you wake up from that and reality hits. I mean, I basically was living a dream, Joe, and I woke up to this reality of like, it was 3 minutes of me like, oh my God, that over there, I've got to save my dog. She's going to be called Blossom. She's going to have some of the dog food, and then I'll go and get her some nice puppy food. We'll get her fattened up. The dogs are going to love her. It's going to be amazing. I can't believe I managed this. Is this your dog? I was like walking behind this fucking Good Samaritan going, like, I'm a good person, man, but this is not it for me. This is not it for me. Finders keepers, in my opinion. It was not Blossom. So you never know. Perhaps I can manifest another lost dog. Right. Right, that. So that. Exactly. Shelley says you can never replace him, but you can find new ones to love. Exactly. Dogs are the best. Dogs are life. Smartest dog I ever had was a Maltese, dumbest Dalmatian. Well, I used to have a Shih Tzu, Maltese Shih Tzu his name was Phil. Not real smart. Bless. Dumbest dog shit. Dumbest was a Dalmatian. Well, interesting. Did you have 101 of them? Right. Now, shall we find the topic? I mean, when is the answer not dogs? I don't think the answer is ever not dogs. But what is the question? Well, we've been, I think, collectively yearning for some Karen Reid content. I know. I thank you, Pritzy. That's a nice angle to put on it. You still rescued her. I did. I have a feeling that Mr. Good Samaritan may not have looked for the owner either. Would you like me to take it in? My girlfriend can mind it. No, I'll mind it forever. Her. Now, thank you, Motion to Scream. What the fuck, Brandon? Replay crew, hi. If you, thanks for watching on replay. You should come and watch chat. But if conflicting YouTube schedules or time doesn't allow, time differences, replay crew works. Love you to leave a comment, even if it's just to say Blossom was the best name ever. Thoughts and prayers, Miss Shorty. But if you'd like to watch the live chat replay on your handheld device, if you have a tablet or an iPhone or an Android, you can. All you need to do is swipe left on the comment tab and it will give you the option to watch the live chat replay instead. So that's amazing. Did I say hi to Dave? I feel like I didn't, and that's so rude. Hi, Dave. Good to see you. Hi, Carrie. Did I see Carrie as well? Hi, Carrie. Hey. You'll have to go back and listen to my dog story. Hilarious. Found a dog, lost a dog in the space of 2 or 3 minutes. It was quite the roller coaster. Now, there wasn't that much to watch on the trial this week. The trial. Hi, Candy. Good to see you. The trial. I mean, there's only so many times you can with secondhand embarrassment for shattered burgess. So I've been feeling, and this is what we're going to watch tonight. Is what this is my relaxation. This is my what we're going to watch and learn about is what I do for fun. And Professor Sam Vaknin is a fascinating person. We have talked almost ad nauseum about thank you, Simi, about narcissists, assholes, toxic people, people with narcissistic tendencies in our psychology collection. There's a whole playlist. I haven't added this episode in yet, but it's called Psychology Corner, Narcissists, Flying Monkeys, and Assholes. Fancy that. I think we've watched one, Professor Vaknin, and I'm, yes, we do need group therapy. Hi, Kimbers. Hi, Kimbers. Hi. We've watched one. It was right before. It was like the very first time I'd happened upon his stuff. Now he's my top, like literally my top channel that I'm watching. Can't get enough. Can't get enough. Here's what's fascinating about him, among many other things. Professor Vaknin is a narcissist. In all of my years, particularly in the last 8 years since I became highly aware and gradually more well-versed on narcissists and the different kinds and had the displeasure of spending quite a lot of time with quite a lot of different of kinds. I've never come across a narcissist who's gone, hey, I'm a narcissist, let alone this man is admittedly princey. It's fascinating. I love him. Of course I do. Fuck, I'm a sucker for a narcissist. Yikes. So here's his backstory summed up. My words, not his. I guess he's 60, 55. I probably could check. But in a couple of decades ago, maybe in his 20s, he was a high-powered businessman, financier, right? And he was caught for white-collar fraud, embezzlement, I believe. Don't quote me. And convicted and sentenced and spent time in prison. And in that process, he had to have some psychological testing and was diagnosed as being a narcissist. 420 girl, you fucking get it. Get it. Wait, let me play you a bong. I presume it's a bong of some description, dab something. So he went from being he was married and a high flying, very prominent, wealthy person in the business world to being a convicted felon in not sure what country. He's Israeli. He's from Israel originally. He then, upon being diagnosed as being a narcissist, went on to do much research while in prison. And too long don't read. This is the guy who coined the phrase narcissistic abuse. He coined the phrase hoovering. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Hi, Rach. Good to see you. Fascinating. I see Margaret's here. Hi, ducking. That's not ducking, but hi, grass. Yes, Sam Vaknin. Love 1010. High rotation. So So this is fascinating. I haven't. Motion to Scream, what the fuck, granted, is a far better research assistant or researcher than I am, and she pulled his email address. So I'm gonna see if I can get him to come on the channel, because he goes on other like small brand new channels. We'll see. We'll see. I'm sure I can stroke his ego enough. Narcissists love that shit, right? And see what we can do. So let's bring it back to, though, Karen Reed. I know we're taking a sidestep away from it, but there's some linkages here, okay? We've spent a lot of time talking about, we and the broader Karen Reed community have spent quite a lot of time pondering on why the fuck Karen would have even considered Brian Higgins. Like, well, also the dynamic of John and Karen's relationship being pretty toxic. Sorry, man. Pastor, yeah, hi. So this is going to be quite. Wait, I got sidetracked. There's a Buster. He's like fully holding onto my arm. Like, yeah, I love you both very much. I love you both very much. I love all of you. The first, I've got 3, 4. You know me. My eyes are always bigger than how much time we have allowed. We don't have any hard stop here, so we can keep going. Although it is Feral Friday, so let me see what I can do. I'm going to try not to interrupt too much. I've got 3. What we might end up doing is doing this in 2 parts. Might do next week on Friday night as well. Surely we can recap the week in trial in one night. There's so many recaps out there. We can do it in our own special way. At the moment there's 3 videos linked in the description box. So we're going to start with the first one. So I'm a little bit excited. Let me just preface it by saying this stuff is a little heavy going in terms of it being very jargon filled. So I have some definitions pulled up, ready to go, that I think you all might like. He's also got a pretty thick accent. You sound a little odd, like something is off with your mic. Right. Thank you. What could it be? Podcast microphone. Maybe it's me. What about this? Test that. Maybe I'm just being weird. Maybe it's, I don't know. Tell me, is that better? I'm not sure. We'll see how we go. Oh, could be a good incentive for me not to talk. How about that? Now, if he says something that you're not sure of, let me know. Sounds better. Oh, I just ticked a box in the thing. A thing of the thing. Technical shit. Me. Excellent. I'm also sweating like a bastard here. Excuse me. It's hot in here even though it's cold. Maybe I'm just so full of excitement. Hi, Sherry Berry. Oh, okay. The dulcet tones of Shorty. Lol. Now, I've got some timestamps. I'm going to try not to talk too much. If it's too much for you, let me know. If you find yourself chatting and want to come back to it, the video, as in chatting in chat and not paying so much attention, like I'm riveted. I'm like, Professor Vaknin. I don't love him. Wait. So what? Back to what I was saying. This first video is going to talk about shared fantasy, and so this is what's going to take us to the interesting, very, I think he articulates it really well. Professor Sam, as to where we can find some really strong, like, not diagnosing anyone, but if we go under the guise of narcissists, assholes, and toxic people, and knowing that narcissistic tendencies come from an inability to separate from the mother And if we think about John O'Keefe and Peggy O'Keefe and that whole ostensible dynamic, let's not say they're going to clip it, but I'm not diagnosing Officer John O'Keefe as being a narcissist, but we've used the word asshole before. His behaviors were toxic. So it's not a stretch for me to think that this is all relevant, right? I'm also going to try to steer away from my own lived experiences too heavily, but I can draw on many. So we'll get there. I want to talk about so many things. Goddamn, having to work to pay the bills. So rude. This is my worst, but sidebar, this is my worst ever month for dollars for grifting. Just saying, like, fuck my life. It's lucky I love you all. Right, now let me find it. Oh, and then we're going to talk about why narcissists can't hear you or understand. And I'm going to have to debunk some stuff that I've been preaching, misguidedly preaching about gaslighting intentionally or just by the by. But we'll get there. Now, where is it? This one. Now, I've got some timestamps for this one because it's like rough ones. Salty Sleuth says, in my world, narcissist equals energy vampire. Yes, same. Not just energy. They suck everything from you. They're a succubus, right? Let me just get... Hey, it's been a while. Ms. What the fuck? I've been worried about Ms. What the fuck overloading herself with work and like peasant work and this. Oh, Buster. And I've been stressing that I don't want her to burn out. I'm not saying she has burnt out, but I'm doing my own stuff tonight because I'm an adult and I'm a professional YouTuber. Okay, what are we doing? So I've kind of forgotten how to do this shit, right? How fast is it though? It's highly likely that it's extremely fast. Buster, your claws are sharp. I mean, Blossom. I mean, imagine if I had... we're going to play the video, but imagine if I had Blossom sitting on my lap here. Jokes. Okay. And we want to play. Okay, so I'm starting a little bit in to this video, and I'm going to skip through a little bit. It's not going to necessarily be as smooth as butter as I'd like it, but I don't want you to get bogged down.
Before we go,
bogged down in too much of the technical shit, even though I froth over it. Now, Puppy, I love you too.
To the cycle itself.
Too fast.
In the grooming phase,
but not for me.
The narcissist lies. He makes false promises. For example, if it's a woman, he will...
So he's talking... So we're setting up the... Wait, wind it back. There's still a little bit more. To clarify, the general agreed terminology when talking about narcissists is he, and when talking about borderlines is she. However, 50% of all narcissistic personality disorder folk are actually females, but it's that agreed medical reference point pronoun, right? So don't anybody get up in arms and say, but there can be female narcissists too. Absolutely. Half of them. So same as there can be male borderlines, although that's not a 50-50 split. Borderline personality disorder. One more thing. What was I going to say? So basically, this is when they're talking about grooming, he's talking in terms of an intimate partner relationship, this stuff can be translated into other dynamics, friendships, colleagues, bosses, family dynamics. So try not to look at it with too much of a narrow scope. Just play the video. Okay.
He will make false promises for a committed relationship. Why does he lie? If it's a business, he would make promises, to deliver some mega deal or his contacts in Tokyo. But why would he lie? He lies in order to acquire a partner for the shared fantasy. And this partner fulfills several functions: an admirer, a playmate, and a mother or a father. And this partner has to provide the three S's: sex, supply, and services in the case of a woman. And
So supply. I said I wasn't going to pause much, but I need to put some context onto things. That's what Salty mentioned before about energy vampires. Supply. Let me just sidestep here, because when he's talking, let's define narcissistic supply for a second. Thank you, Google AI overview. Narcissistic supply refers to the admiration, attention, and go with these glasses, and validation that narcissists crave and need to maintain their sense of self-worth and inflated ego. It's the emotional fuel that drives their behaviors and helps them feel powerful and superior. Think of it as the constant need for attention and praise that keeps their false self-image artifact afloat. I thought I said artifact. What it is. Narcissistic supply is the emotional validation and attention that narcissists seek and rely on to feel good about themselves. But it doesn't have to be positive shit. Anything, any attention will give them the supply, right? Any. That's why back in the, it's still going, but but in the peak of the smear campaign, the flying monkey bullshit, and we were begging, I was begging everyone to just do not engage. That's why it's pointless. That's why responding to the trolls in any beyond one comment or free Karen, the anti-Karen readers, is pointless. Not that they're necessarily narcissists, but they're feeding off that. They don't care, that they love it. They fucking love it. So, okay. Why it's important. Their supply is crucial for narcissists to maintain their fragile sense of self and to avoid feeling empty and insecure, which is ultimately they're empty vessels. Then they're subhumans. They're like, I'm sorry, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There is no real core of a narcissist. They're all mask. It's all, and the video we're going to watch on why they can't hear us is absolutely fascinating. I've learned so much in the last couple of weeks about from Professor Vaknin, because it's really clarified a lot of things for me, even with all he's Israeli. He's Israeli. He's an Israelite. How it's obtained. Narcissists often, fuck, my glasses are so bad, often employ various tactics. Maybe I can enlarge it. Can I? No, I'm not going to try. Narcissists often employ various tactics to secure narcissistic supply, including seeking validation. They actively seek compliments, praise, and admiration. Controlling situations. They may manipulate others to get what they want and to maintain their sense of power and superiority. Using charm and manipulation, they might use their charm and emotional intelligence to ingratiate themselves with others and gain attention. Who provides it? Anyone who gives them attention, praise, or validation, or even unintentionally can contribute. Even unintentionally can contribute to their narcissistic supply. It doesn't have to be just praise. It doesn't. Any form of energy, particularly when it gets to the discard phase, which we're going to get to. The impact. This constant need for supply can be draining for those around them who may feel pressured to provide validation and can be emotionally manipulated, right? Yep. So let's go back to Sam. So,
and the narcissist expects his woman to provide these three S's in highly specific ways. For example, when it comes to sex, most narcissists are kinky. They expect kinky sex or even sadistic sex. We're going to discuss all this a bit later. We're at the stage of making observations, sharing some observations with you before we dive, scuba dive into the narcissist cycle of relationship. And so when the woman starts to ask for the pledged commitment, for the intimacy that she had been promised, the narcissist withdraws and abuses. He had lied, but when someone tries to cash the check, he becomes abusive. And so sad and mad, the woman usually reacts by triangulating and by misbehaving with men. And then the narcissist, the sex between the partners becomes conventional, and the narcissist can even develop symptoms like erectile dysfunction. At any rate, he begins to dicaffect. He begins to withdraw whatever emotional investment he had put into the relationship.
I'm going to pause there and say I, at the time, did not know it. But my son's father is 100% a narcissist, and this phase in our relationship came very, very quickly. It was a whirlwind, no shit. The speed with which narcissists like to operate, and we'll get to it if we get to it tonight, is lightning speed, and they go through all sorts of mental gymnastics to so basically they're looking for a mother figure, right? They're looking for a mother figure to replace mommy in their world, because mommy didn't give them what they needed as a child and didn't properly prepare them for the world as an adult. So narcissists are generally 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years of age mentally and emotionally, and they didn't properly separate from the mother, and during their childhood, the formative years, the mother was abusive in whichever way that might be, whether it be physically, emotionally abusive, being like a hypervigilant parent, not letting their child sort of learn about the world on their own, micromanaging the child, or being withholding of warmth and love. It doesn't neglect, any kind of neglect, thanks Princey.
He begins to be absent and cold and
Accident.
detached and scheming and
Sorry, sir. So it doesn't. So, and I always go on about how I don't believe there's necessarily any hierarchy of trauma. Trauma is trauma is trauma, and same with neglect or abuse. It doesn't have to be, newsworthy, capital A abuse of a child. It can just be many things, and if it affected the child's sense of self and learning about the world, then that can turn someone into having a dysfunctional relationship with their mother. And if that mother then doesn't properly separate, if the child doesn't properly individuate from the mother, then for the life, yes, Princey, withholding love and affection, then for a lifetime, that narcissist is forever seeking a mother figure, a maternal figure. Could be a father, again, with that interchangeability when they talk about the mother figure, the maternal, whoever's providing those, the affection and what's the word? Brain fart. The father can provide the same things, or not provide the same things. So they say he uses mother and maternal interchangeably with that parental figure, who's the one supposed to be providing those kind of things to the child. Hey, Scott, good to see you. So then the narcissist goes through life looking to find a maternal figure, and that could be a female narcissist looking to find the father maternal figure. It's sounding confusing, but it makes sense, trust me, to get them to idealize that person in their mind, to then devalue that person in their mind, so they can then sever and individuate from that person as a symbolic gesture of the way in which they weren't able to do that with their own maternal or paternal figure in their childhood. Does that make sense? I don't know. The numbers are dropping. Probably not.
Calculating. You can see it in his eyes. He becomes a lot more psychopathic. And then he withdraws the sex. So there's emotional absence, sex withdrawal, and abuse. And this is essentially the sequence. False promises, which are very convincing and create a shared psychosis, if you wish. Definitely a shared fantasy. Then the partner comes, tries to cash the check, tries to have the promises fulfilled. Narcissist gets very angry, very abusive, becomes emotionally absent, withdraws the sex, and so on. The woman feels rejected and abandoned.
In a workplace environment, that could be not sex, but a praise and recognition in the workplace from a boss. So remember, we're not just limiting this to the exact examples that Sam is providing.
And she cheats. The majority of women end up cheating or at the very least misbehaving with men.
Reminding you that we're going to draw a link here, I think, a pretty strong link between Karen's behaviors when we're talking about Higgins and what she did there or didn't do, and maybe why psychologically why.
And sometimes she even cheats with the narcissist's knowledge and encouragement as a way to get rid of her presence and demands, even if the narcissist and the woman continue to cohabit. And we come to this variant a bit later. It's not a common variant, but it exists. So the narcissist uses women for gratification, as sources of supply, as slaves to provide services, and as sex toys in immature, sadistic ways. In the grooming and shared fantasy phases, the woman must become an infatuated admirer in order to give the narcissist the power to sadistically hurt and abuse her. After this phase of this part of observations within the video, I'm going to go into the most intricate details of the cycle, where you will be able to position yourself. So bear with me, listen to the observations until we get to the cycle. As a playmate, the woman must act as an extreme sexual.
I'm going to let me find the next timestamp because the sexual stuff. You can watch this yourself. It's linked in the description box. Let me just find the next little timestamp. It's all fascinating to me, but I don't want to lose you all, and I want to get to all the talking points that I have been obsessing over for the whole week. 2 weeks, lifetime. That's what it is. I don't know what it is.
Similar to the psychopath, narcissists also have a problem with delayed gratification, with investing now to reap in the future. They want everything now, and they want it without any commensurate investment or effort because they are entitled. So to secure a partner, the narcissist must pretend that he is interested in a long-term committed adult relationship, just to get women to date him, let alone sleep with him. And so, for example, take the fact that narcissists insist on sexual exclusivity when they kind of spot a promising source of narcissistic supply, a woman who can fit in and provide the 3 S's. One of the first things the narcissist would discuss with her is sexual exclusivity. You're mine, you know. But sexual exclusivity is a hallmark, is a sign of a committed, serious, long-term relationship. It's a signal. The narcissist is sending this signal early on, implying, sometimes without saying it explicitly, that he is serious. But even so, the narcissist is not willing to court women because wooing and courting is tedious adult behavior, and he is a child. Also, wooing women and courting them will undermine the shared fantasy in which a narcissist is forever a child, Peter Pan. Courting, having to court, having to invest in the woman, having to spend time with her, having to listen to her stories, having to desire her openly, having to give her compliments, having to open doors for her, take away her coat, buy her gifts, inquire as to her whereabouts, and I mean, all this massive investment of time and effort and attention and diversion of resources from much more productive uses. Yes, all this also negates the narcissist's grandiose entitlement. You see, the narcissist thinks that he's so irresistibly unique and so uniquely irresistible that women should fall at his feet unbidden. He should not have to work for what is his by right. Women should realize what a treasure he is, how cosmically significant, and what a rare gem. And they should court him.
So I saw Firefly. I saw Firefly saying, why does this sound like my husband? Ex-husband. Sorry, ex-husband. Yeah. Yes. The obvious grandiosity of grandiose narcissists is pretty easy to spot. At the end, at the end, retrospectively, and once you know, right? But there are other covert narcissists which are less of the tropes and the stereotypes of what we know and love, lol, about narcissists. So we'll get to that in a bit. I am going to skip through it. It pains me because it's all so good, but I want to get to the stuff about Karen, because I think it's not about Karen, but where I was like, I wasn't listening. I don't watch. I listen to and watch all of this with my own, just trying to get some answers for my own lived experience. And as this little next section came up, I was like, oh wait, like we all kind of knew this stuff, but to have it put into theoretical terms. But first, I saw What the Fuck had a couple of questions. Wait. I have 2 questions, but you don't have to answer them now. Do narcissists commonly not know? I've I've very kindly pointed out to quite a few narcissists, oh hey narcissist, what's up? And demonstrably, giving them examples as to why it's textbook shit. And it's too much of it's mortification, right? Pause. Let me pull up mortification. So we talked about narcissistic supply, right? We showed that that thing, that definition. Wait, hang on. Mortification. If you point out to a narcissist the reasons why they're pieces of shit, they don't love it, because they don't want to think about the fact that deep at their core of emptiness, that they think they're less than. All of the narcissistic behaviors are to make them feel better about themselves, because mother didn't. So narcissistic mortification refers to the extreme emotional reaction, often involving intense shame, humiliation, and fear, experienced by a person with narcissistic traits when confronted with a perceived or real threat to their inflated sense of self or grandiosity. So this is why I think Sam Vaknin is fascinating, because he's embraced it, and he turned that diagnosis a few decades ago of being a narcissist into like a gift. I think a lot of narcissism deniers in the medical field are actual narcissists. In fact, I think a lot of people in the medical field full stop are narcissists. That's coming from a medical family. Inflated sense of grandiosity. It's a sudden loss of control over their internal or external reality, triggering a strong sense of terror and potentially leading to narcissistic collapse. So a narcissist does everything for a lifetime to try and separate from the mother symbolically, so they can feel better about themselves, and it's never going to happen. The damage is done. The mother figure, the parental figure who caused that inability to individuate, that's irreparable damage. So key aspects of narcissistic mortification: primitive terror. It's described as the primitive terror of self-dissolution, a feeling of the self being exposed as defective. And that's why they'll do smear campaigns. That's why they will enlist flying monkeys. That's why they'll go and get a new source of narcissistic supply to make themselves feel better about themselves. So discrepancy. It can be triggered by a discrepancy between an endorsed or ideal view of self and a contrasting realization. It's too heavy a realization. Most narcissists can't even begin to think that there would be something wrong with them, even though deep at their core they know there is. They know they're defective. Defensive behaviors. Defensive behaviors. Narcissists may react to mortification with defensive behaviors like denying the situation, attacking the source of the humiliation, or launching smear campaigns. Do you remember everything we went through, Shorties? We, collective we, but at the core, me, over December, January, February. Interesting. That covert narcissist, pirate type, did everything in their power to deflect from the public denouncing of their integrity and character. A fair representation of that person. Narcissistic collapse. In extreme cases, narcissistic mortification can lead to a narcissistic collapse, a state of emotional distress characterized by irritability, is that the word? Irritability, yes, angry outbursts, and withdrawal. Going offline, going into hiding, but then still puppeteering things. Impact on self-esteem. Narcissistic mortification can significantly impact self-esteem and the perception of the self, potentially triggering defensive mechanisms to protect the fragile ego. Question number 2. Is narcissism a learned behavior or one they are born with? It comes from that deficient maternal relationship where a healthy adult, emotionally and mentally healthy adult, will have separated from the mother at the proper times in their life, those proper milestone moments, and will have developed their own sense of individualness and their own sense of self, a healthy sense of self. I mean, nature or nurture, quite often narcissism follows the family line, right? And then there'll be a scapegoat often in the family, like perhaps an empath who went the other way at that fork in the road. But I think there's some genetics in there. What the fuck? But I get the feeling that it's mostly perhaps the reason why the maternal figure was substandard or deficient in providing those key things that a maternal figure needs to that child, is because they've experienced that same stuff. So it's a self-perpetuating cycle, is my understanding, if that makes sense. So, look at me. Look at me articulating things quite clearly. Amazing. Who knew? I try. Okay, so this is the stuff. So going to the stuff where I was like, oh, okay, so Karen, like generational trauma, right? Yes, you're welcome. I'm an educator. I spend all my time like this. I've got at the moment I've got the fixes in going permanently in my brain, and I've got questions about myself. I've had some pretty big ego death moments in the last couple of weeks, some pretty strong realizations. I understand more about my predisposition to being drawn to narcissists and them to me. I think it's a magnetic force, and I know more now about myself than I ever did before. Excellent, Dave. Thank you so much. I'm glad. I'm so glad. Yes, Scotty, we saw that. No names, but big things. I'm sorry you're having some realizations of characters of the true character of the people with which you've associated over the past few years. That's a tough one. Betrayal is a fucking bitter pill to swallow, and not just betrayal of someone putting themselves to be a certain way, and then true colors always shine through in the end, don't they? So we got you, Scott. Okay, Professor Vaknin. My brain always says Vadkin, and it's not. It's Vaknin.
For weeks. It's
Not
a
queued up
signal.
perfectly.
If you demand sexual exclusivity, it's a signal. If you share very intimate details of your life, seek advice, it's a signal. These are signals. The narcissist gives all these signals and meets his women in settings and behaves in ways that clearly signal, I'm looking for a serious long-term relationship. But then he reveals later with his behaviors in the shared fantasy that he's interested in these women merely as playmates.
So disclaimer, I didn't queue it up. I had just a rough queue. So it's the stuff, it's coming. I promise. Walk and talk, chat. Walk and talk.
He withholds. He doesn't fully belong. He's not fully present. He makes these women feel transparent, non-existent. And these behavior patterns make women feel very disappointed, angry, toyed with.
John.
They feel deceived, which
Karen.
leads them to cheat on the narcissist as a way to terminate the relationship, restore themselves emotionally, elevate their self-esteem, and hurt the narcissist. In this order, by the way. It's more about them than about the narcissist. So this defiant act of independence, ending up in bed with another man, even if it's a one-night stand,
or
it's
even
a
just
defiant
texting.
act. It's symbolic severing.
Hang on to your horses and your hats, chat, because he's basically got everything right down to Karen walking Higgins out through the garage, knowing where the cameras were, all of that. Like, mind's about to be blown. I was like, wait, what? This is just textbook. And I consider, like, I love Dr. Ramani. Dr. Ramani is a therapist. Professor Vaknin is not. He's a research-based academic. He does have people who seek him for treatment, but he doesn't see patients as such. Okay, so Dr. Ramani talks about healing, and I love her dearly. It's a kind of a different frame that we watch Dr. Ramani stuff. This is the theoretical stuff behind what we've spoken about in psychology before. And given that it's coming from a narcissist, like, fascinating. Carry on, Sam.
Of the bond, the trauma bond, the relationship. And it's intended to restore the woman's autonomy and self-efficacy, restore her as an agent. She's an object. She wants to become a human being again, an agent. And cheating is one way. Cheating, I mean, having sex with another man, is one way of doing this. It's a signal of independence. And that's why in many of these cases, the women actually inform the narcissist of what had happened. Or they pick up men in the narcissist when the narcissist is present. I mean, they make sure the narcissist knows about it, so that there's no way back.
Wait, why haven't I put
or to force the narcissist to dump them.
We'll see if
Or
closed
to
caption can get his
empower
accent.
themselves, to make them feel so strong and restored.
There we go. Sorry, I forgot about
they
that.
will get the nerve to walk away. It's all about trying to sever the sick miasma.
Pause. Hi, Grumpy Bear, Mr. Sherry Berry. Is this a cleavage only night? No. Sherry Berry says that my dad body training bra doesn't yet meet the requirements. No, I don't know if Scott McGinnis is still here, but Scotty was here. Joe Schmo was here. Dave Channel's here. I don't know if they wear training bras. I don't think so. But take your bra off. It's Friday night anyway. Sherry Berry's husband, Mr. Grumpy Bear, Mr. Berry.
That the relationship had become. Because the shared fantasy is so psychotic, so detached, so unreal, that it starts as a dream, but invariably ends as a nightmare. Narcissists reify.
Did you hear that? I'm going to go back. Let's think about Karen and John. They dated years and years ago, and then reconnected during a surreal time in the world history of COVID, online through Facebook, which, like, come on now, that's not reality for many. It was a surreal time. They had the, and then when shit got real, in terms of co-parenting children that Karen never planned to have or wanted to have, and John, I'm going back for that bit because even when he says ended in a nightmare, here we go. Like the push pull, the shit that John said to Karen in those text messages, just anyway, carry on.
To sever the sick miasma that the relationship had become, because the shared fantasy is so psychotic, so detached, so unreal, that it starts as a dream, but invariably ends as a nightmare. Narcissist reifies object inconstancy. He deletes chats and emails, or he's married, or is in touch with multiple women, or he triangulates. So he's unavailable even as he claims to be available, and he harps on the partner's own abandonment anxiety, and this leads to a disintegration of the partner, and she counter triangulates and cheats, very often just as a way to restore herself and to get the hell out of there. Yeah. Women reject their permanent role in the shared fantasy as mere sex slaves or sex buddies,
or
playmates,
taxis,
toys, co-fantasies. Women want more from the relationship, and they want exclusivity.
Karen wanted warmth. I'm gonna speak for Karen. We've kind of established in our little community, and I think more broadly also, that Karen wanted a warm, loving, inclusive, supportive partner, and John wasn't those things. We've talked about how I've talked about how I believe Karen was emotionally extricating herself from the relationship, and the whole thing with Higgins suggests as much. I think that it would have. I think she would have gotten out.
In this phase, women refuse to continue to realize the narcissist's sexually sadistic fantasies. They revert and transition to conventional
trophy girlfriend sex. Shelley.
And when their demands and expectations are not met, women don't feel that they have to meet the demands and expectations of the partner. My demands are not met. Why should I meet your demands? And so there's a deterioration in the reciprocity of the relationship and the goodwill, I would say. The goodwill reserves, goodwill deposits dwindle. And women sometimes deny sex or withhold sex or insist on non-satisfying conventional sex as a manipulative tactic to manipulate the narcissist, to wake him up, to get a rise out of him. For the same reason they triangulate, same reason they cheat. Or because there is no longer a quid pro quo. All this happens in the interstitial phase, when the woman decides to exit the relationship. And the narcissist reacts to all these maneuvers by losing sexual interest in the woman and by experiencing sometimes occasional erectile dysfunction. Let's talk a bit more about cheating. Finally, the only way open to the narcissist woman is to resort to another man with whom she can create an alternative sanctuary, however fantastic and brief. Now, I can hear the chorus of voices. I never cheated on my narcissist. I don't cheat. I will never cheat. I am not saying that all women, all the partners, all the intimate partners, female intimate partners of narcissists cheat. That's not what I'm saying. Some of them cheat. Some of them don't cheat. However, cheating is an option in the mind of all these women. Do not believe a woman who would tell you, I never thought about cheating on you. Do not believe that. She may, because she's inhibited, or because she's well socialized, or because she has a higher self-esteem. For whatever reason, she may opt to not cheat. But she had considered cheating, and considered cheating with specific individuals, with candidates. Just held herself back. And cheating is the only way open to a woman to kind of escape this madness of the shared fantasy. And it fulfills several functions simultaneously. And this is why cheating gradually becomes an irresistible choice. Now,
Okay, I'm going to skip forward to so can you see that? Honestly, this is fascinating. So if you have an hour and 36 and you want to go back and watch it again, listen to it, there's so much interesting stuff in here, so much with in relation to Karen, perhaps in your life, or you can see it maybe in your parents' lives, sister, a friend. That I got one more section, then we might play a song. Wait, what this says most replayed. Let me see what this is. Okay.
It's just that she breaks the unspoken agreement of sexual exclusivity or emotional exclusivity. That symbolic act is in itself sufficient, like raising the flag, And so she transfers her attachment and emotions to another man, her interest, her intimacy, her openness, her trust, her gratitude to another man. And usually she does it in public, or she makes sure that the narcissist gets to learn about all this. And
did you hear that?
Doing this,
so she makes sure he gets to learn about it. Just ended. I think John probably did know at the end. I think he might have known. Remember we talked about the hope the plumber's hot? That? Interesting. A bit more on this.
She both abandons the narcissist and abrogates her maternal role. And from that moment, the narcissist will find it very difficult to regard her as a safe base mother, because she hurt him. He did not believe that she will hurt him, but she hurt him. And so there are two types of shared fantasy. One is aborted shared fantasy, and one is active shared fantasy. Sometimes the narcissist tries to create a shared fantasy with a partner, and it's not working out. The shared fantasy is not fully formed.
Pause. I'm going to talk about 3 relationships I personally have had with folks that have future faked, but I think they believed it in our happily ever after. And all of them happen to be in the States. So long distance shit, like so obviously fantasy now looking back. Never, ever, 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 ever will I, now that I know what I know, will I believe any of that bullshit? I won't even let it be entertained. And when the reality of putting that, to me, these were real promises with all 3 people. Took 3rd time's a charm. I've got it now. When it came down to the nuts and bolts of the reality of turning that fantasy, that shared fantasy that I believed, into a reality, one of them ran for the hills, blocked me everywhere, and embarked on an epic smear campaign of epic proportions that destroyed my credibility, my reputation, and severely dismantled our channel. That was fun. The other one, the first one, I called it on other grounds, but I believed it. And the most recent one was actually there's been 4. Fuck, what's wrong with me? 4th time's a charm. 4th time's a charm. They all believe what they're saying. But when it comes down to turning that fantasy into reality, and it's clearly there's no link, there's no nexus between this pie in the sky bullshit and let's make it happen. And it's always me, the pragmatic one, going, okay, so how can we make this work? And they're like, work? It was never going to work. So, and you know, one of them ran for the hills, and has recently started to try to dip their toes back into the community, albeit under a pen name, and the other one, well, strongly believes that he's a victim of me, the narcissist. Hi, Steph. Did you just get your tattoo? Hey, girl. Steph just had some tattoo therapy. Love it, love it, love it. Hi, JB. Also, isn't cheating always a possibility unless you're in denial about reality? I think cheating is always a possibility. Some people, yes, I think so. Yes, I did I play the bit? He talks about how Sam talked about, for some people they may have, I'm going to use the wrong words, but like the moral fortitude, or the socialization is what he says, to understand that cheating isn't great. Get out of the relationship before you cheat. If you're not happy in that relationship for whatever reason, if that dynamic isn't ideal for you or for either of you, or for as a dynamic, to get out before you cheat. But many people, and that's what Professor Vaknin's talking about here, in a toxic relationship with a toxic person with narcissistic tendencies, and I think you'll find that most toxic people are only toxic because they have leanings towards narcissism. They might not be full-blown narcissists. That's quite an effective way to sever that relationship as the victim of the narcissistic abuse, is to mortify, to get that mortification that we just spoke about, that the narcissist devalues you in their mind because you are now, it's that Madonna complex. You've got, it's splitting, it's binary. It's going from, she is idealized, she is this snapshot, this beautiful, perfect, like non-real image in the narcissist's brain, because everything is, they have object impermanence. Narcissists see everything as objects. You just got to watch all of his content. I'm not really articulating well, but to take yourself as the woman or the man, the victim in that dynamic, from being idealized to devaluing, so that the narcissist has that mortification that they can't come back from, is the best way to extricate yourself from the relationship. Repeat offenders, cheaters, I mean, that's just can be a toxic cycle. That might not be, that might just be someone with no real strong moral compass. But let me get back, keep playing.
It's the beginnings. They're rudiments of shared fantasy, but they don't coalesce into a shared fantasy. When cheating occurs in an aborted shared fantasy, this leads to a successful exit. The narcissist cannot return to women who had betrayed the shared fantasy by cheating.
Keep playing the video, Shorty.
If the fantasy had been aborted before it had matured. That's a critical thing. If the narcissist picks up a potential partner or potential mate, tries to create a shared fantasy with her, and fails, and then she cheats, he will never return to this woman. And then there's cheating in active shared fantasy. This kind of cheating is much less effective. It's recurrent, it's failed exits. It must result in mortification to be successful. When the shared fantasy...
Okay, I'm going to skip forward to the last bit because I really want to make sure we get to all of it. So this is an hour 36, this video. Fascinating. Love 1010. It's linked in the description box. Let's get to anti-fantasy, which is the final stage, where I'll let Sam articulate it, because me, not Professor Vaknin.
Or infatuation stage, and it's going to be followed by the implementation of realistic plans, or at the very least realistic fantasy, adult fantasy that involves life, elements of life, like I mentioned before: home, business, doing business, creating a home, having children, making a family,
moving to the States.
The narcissist's intimate partners are much more grounded in adult chores, responsibilities, and Weltanschauung, view of life. And when they start pushing for more, the narcissist becomes indecisive and approach avoidant. As long as this discontent, this friction, this disagreement is not translated to specific demands, ultimatums, withholding, conflict, or betrayal and cheating, the narcissist pretends and continues to act as though everyone is still on the same shared fantasy page. But it can't last for long. It can't last for long, and it leads to an anti-fantasy phase.
This bit.
And the anti-fantasy phase 4 of the 5, involves mortification, decoupling. Sexuality is non-existent. Sexlessness, celibacy, abstinence. And in some cases, partners wish to stay together, they create open relationships.
Pause. Interesting sidebar. The pirates' marriage ended. The last, by all accounts, the final year of that marriage was an open relationship. Interesting, huh?
The minute the partner tries to transition from simulation to reality,
if you believe a word
the
they
minute the
say,
partner refuses to participate in the shared fantasy, the minute the partner tries to convert the shared fantasy into some modicum of adult reality, the minute the partner attempts to extract unilateral benefits, material or otherwise, she moves in to live with the narcissist or meets the narcissist regularly. She demands sex, the narcissist's time, attention, sharing.
Simi closed captions is having the same trouble that I have with, I don't say Nazis, but I get it all tongue tied in my mouth. It's a hard word for me to say. Yikes.
Which is boring. The minute she obstructs his work or interferes with it, the minute she grandiosely claims a share in or control of the shared fantasy or any of its elements, the minute she rejects the narcissist's sexuality and criticizes his sexual performance or proclivities, the minute she has any overt expectations, the minute she makes any demands or ultimatums of any kind, verbally abuses the narcissist, narcissistically injures the narcissist, the minute she triangulates, she flirts, she misbehaves with other men, spends time with them, cheats on the narcissist, betrays the narcissist in any way which mortifies him. There's a critical element, mortification.
Mortification.
The
Closed
minute she
captions on
questions,
drugs.
disagrees, criticizes, mocks, shows disappointment, withholds any of the 3 S's, sex, supply, and services. Or the minute she withholds 2 of the 3 companionship S's, sex, supply, and services. Or any combination of the above. All these are perceived as criticism and devaluation. They are a challenge to the narcissist's grandiosity and a proof of the partner's worthlessness. She is, I don't know, stupid, needy, dependent, weak, dangerous. She's out to get him. She's a gold digger. It's paranoia, paranoid ideation.
Or was going for a green card.
Ideation. Shared fantasy dissipates. The cool-headed, unflinching narcopath takes over. And disenchanted, this narcopath instantly and totally gives up on the partner emotionally. He decaffects. He discards the fantasy, the role play of the game. Narcissist loses all sexual interest in the woman, begins to verbally abuse her sadistically, pushing all her buttons. In that instant, she's no longer his woman. He doesn't care what she does with other men. He no longer reacts to other men's disrespectful advances on her or comments about her. He wakes up, so to speak.
So, Narcopath, what is he saying? So he's saying a narcissistic psychopath, so psychopathic tendencies where he, so it's like a blending. So not all psychopaths, not all narcissists are psychopaths, but all psychopaths are narcissists, and some of those psychopathic tendencies of intentionality, doing things with intention rather than just being a bumbling idiot he who is the narcissist, just a shell of a human, a husk, a non-human, with no depth. Most of what this is what I've learned. Most of what, even though it feels intentional, most of what a narcissist does or an asshole is just because they're a fuckwit, and it's like a tiger's gonna attack, right? A narcissist just gonna do that stuff, and they can't help it. They actually can't help it. It's like I always sorry, men, but I always say you can't hold men being men against men. Not that men are narcissists. That's in their DNA. Same with a narcissist. Not that it's necessarily in their DNA, but it's just who they are. They just do these things, and they'll say, not intentionally, like not intentionally. Well, the effect's the same. Whereas a psychopath does things with intention. And so I've had some blurred lines because I've absolutely, my highly abusive ex, George, was 1 quadrillion% a psychopath. Full intentionality, very calculated, very manipulative, with intention, very proactively, and they don't give a fuck. Narcissists think they're doing everything right. Poor me, and they just do their stupid shit because they're just stupid fucks. Hi, Holly, good to see you. Now, let me see. There's a little bit more, and then we're going to play a song, and then we'll go on to the next one. I want to get on to the why can't they hear us, because I think it's fascinating. It goes into why. We'll get there. Gaslighting maybe is the wrong term for what narcissists do. They're just being bumbling fools. They genuinely believe it. They have actual selective hearing. We'll get there.
He fully reverts to reality, absenting himself. He may be there physically, but never emotionally or mentally. He becomes a kind of disinterested roommate. He also becomes egregiously verbally abusive and devaluing if he is impinged on, if he's kind of pricked or addressed. The narcissist sometimes pushes the partner to cheat on him with others in order to either cause himself mortification or to terminate the relationship without untoward repercussions, or to guilt trip the cheating party into submission.
Okay, I think I'm going to end that video there because it's my channel and I said because I said so. Now,
I have 2 words. Do it. Do it. I'd love that.
Joe says, "Oh my God, that line made me lol. Not to the truth of the matter, only because it's alliteration. Stupid fucks do stupid things." It just did. It just did. Right. So now let's have a music break. I have some. I'm a songwriting machine. Yes. Thank you, Motion to Scream. What the fuck? I'm gonna play a little bit of Nico. Miss you, Nick, wherever you are, doing like actual real world stuff. Rude.
Now some music. The supreme leader decrees it.
Oh, I scrolled too far. Of course I did. Hey, this is a new one. I love it. I think some of you, it's a little bit different for me.
Evanescent slope of grief starts high and then ends low. Smoke and mirrors alibi eventually devours you. A black hole, an abysmal vacuity. Fall in love with yourself, it's an oceanic feeling. Symbiosis, retrofusion, Wizard of Oz replete with delusion. Nothing is real, nothing is there, holding up a mirror. Separation filled with fear, vulnerable, insurmountable, nothing to see. A black hole, an abysmal vacuity. Fall in love with yourself, it's an oceanic feeling. Symbiosis, retrofusion, Wizard of Oz replete with delusion. Pattern, latitude, ostensible platitude. The learning and the yearning, rejuvenation burning. Eviscerate your sense of self, future horizon dawn. Ba-da-da-dun, ba-da-da-dun, ba-da-da-da-dun, ba-da-da-dun, ba-da-da-dun, ba-da-da-dun. A black hole, an abysmal vacuity. Fall in love with yourself, it's an oceanic feeling. Symbiosis, retrofusion, Wizard of Oz replete with delusion. Lived it, slept in it, falling into you. Yeah. yes, no, who, me, you and you and you. Talked it, walked in it, the bullshit, the free fall. Eyes wide open, eyes wide shut, obliterate and thrall. But no more, never ever again. Slow, deep breath and count to 10.
Well, I actually wrote that having listened and watched a lot of Professor Vaknin. That term, it's a song about narcissists. It's a song about surviving narcissistic abuse. Never ever again. Slow, deep breath and count to 10. So that, and it's also kind of relevant thinking about Karen Reed stuff. What the fuck says I'm obsessed with that song. Yes. Vixie's going through, and Prince, you're both doing some really intense therapy at the moment. I'm so proud of you both. Anybody who's out there doing therapy, whether it's internal shadow work, which is, I've learned recently, the term shadow work talks about that it's referring to the fact that everybody has a shadow, and it's looking in at those demons, which is how I've always articulated it, facing them front on and coming to terms with that dark side of oneself. Shadow work. There you go. How about that? Now, the next one. Thank you all for being here. I'm personally obsessed with, it's in my brain like all the time, the new Karen Reed one, The Fix is in. If you haven't heard it, I'm playing it tomorrow night. It's fucking amazing. I don't know. That came from Lady Zelda Kelly's recent live stream, I think last weekend. I was inspired. Always inspired. We're coming up to close to 69 songs, chat, from Shorty. Miss Shorty music. Now, wait, where is it? Here, this. So we're going to talk about why a narcissist can't hear you, or Professor Vaknin is, Sam, love. So I've had some really strong recent experience with, like, is there something wrong with your brain? You, this person. Is this perhaps the early stages of dementia, Alzheimer's? Why aren't you listening? This is a very clear conversation here, and that person being adamant that that's not what was said. And so when I happened upon this particular video, I was like, wow, fascinating. It's a much shorter video. I'm going to see if we can play all of it. It's riveting, and it will dispel the myth that I've been perpetuating, that to use the term gaslighting isn't quite right here, and there is such a thing as selective hearing. And if you've experienced in your lifetime a boss or a parent or a sibling or a friend, you're like, this is fucking crazy. Like, this is crazy. I know. We both know the conversation that was had, or the text thread that was had. What's going on here? Here are some answers.
We are going to discuss a loaded topic. Why does the narcissist block you out? Why wouldn't he hear you? And when he does listen, or pretends to be listening, why doesn't he understand you? What is the source of his constant and consistent incomprehension and surprise at how things evolve? The thing is that the narcissist
confabulation
self-deceives. The extent of the narcissist's self-deception denies belief. The narcissist even deceives himself into believing that he is not deceiving himself. Talk about a double bind. And it all has to do, of course, with grandiosity. My name is Sam Vaknin. I'm the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited, a former visiting professor of psychology in Southern Federal University in Rostov-on-Don, the Russian Federation, the scene of the recent battles, and a long-time member of the faculty of CIAPS, Commonwealth for International Advanced Professional Studies, in Cambridge, United Kingdom, Toronto, Canada, and with an outreach campus in Lagos, Nigeria. Grandiosity is a cognitive distortion. We all have cognitive biases. Some of us even have cognitive distortions, and yet we are still considered to be normal and healthy. So what's the difference when it comes to the narcissist? The narcissist's grandiosity is a cognitive distortion that is cathected. In other words, the narcissist is emotionally invested in distorting reality so that it buttresses, affirms, confirms, and supports his inflated, fantastic view of himself. Grandiosity is a desperate attempt to fend off life-threatening shame and hurt, depression, and suicidal ideation. In other words, if grandiosity were to not work, if grandiosity were to fail, the narcissist would devolve into the equivalent of a borderline. He would develop emotional dysregulation and suicidal ideation. And this is exactly what happens when grandiosity is shut down in the process of narcissistic mortification. So grandiosity is critical, absolutely critical. Now, to maintain and sustain the grandiose firewall, the grandiose wall of China, the defense against internal shame and hurt and external shame and humiliation, the narcissist prefers to listen to internal objects rather than external objects. Now, every human being alive.
So this gets a little heavy weighting, some of this, but hang in there. Hang in there.
I'm not sure about the dead, but every human being alive has this phenomenon. Everyone has internal voices and external voices, and we are typically able to tell the difference. The internal voices are known in the clinical phrase internal speech. The narcissist listens to internal voices in his internal objects the same way every other human being.
So Joe, no, it feels intentional. I'm with you there. It feels intentional, but they believe it. They believe their own hype. It's just narcissists are what narcissists are. They just stick with it. This might give you some clarity, this one. As I said, these are all three videos we're watching are linked in the description box. If anything kind of feels like you'd like to delve a little deeper, watch them again on your own, because I've watched these 3 or 4 times each, and all of his stuff. So good. So good.
Being does. There's nothing special about this. Even more so, in the vast majority of people, actually in everyone, internal voices override external voices. But with the narcissist, the internal speech generated by the internal objects overrides not only external speech, but overrides the very existence of external objects and external stimuli.
Wait, you normally just listen. I hadn't noticed him trying to clear his sinuses out. Hilarious. Sorry, Professor Vaknin. Vaknin, I'm intrigued. This isn't boring to me. No, well, good. I'm glad. It's more that it starts to weigh a little heavy. You really have to focus on some of the terminology. It's hard with his accent too, although I'm used to it. So if you're finding it intriguing, head over to I'll share the channel it's Professor Sam Vaknin. He's got like 406,000 subscribers. So yeah, that.
So the narcissist's internal speech suppresses his ability to perceive the outside world as external to himself.
Princey says, does narcissistic abuse make you feel sorry for the narcissist? That's trauma bonding. Yes, that's part of their plan. Well, it's not a conscious plan, but that's part of their plan. Yes, it trauma bonds you. Absolutely.
In a way, the narcissist's internal speech annihilates the narcissist's boundaries. The reason may be that the internal speech in the case of the narcissist is linked intimately and inexorably to a bad object. And the bad object wants to destroy the narcissist, hence the eradication of boundaries. Whatever the reason may be, while each and every one of you, healthy, normal people, each and every one of you have internal voices that override external voices. In the narcissist case, his internal voices, the internal speech, overrides all external stimuli, including cues and information about the separate existence of external objects, such as his intimate partner. And this is, of course, a great definition of psychosis. Now, this happens only in the presence of a cognitive dissonance.
Sorry,
When
Sam.
the narcissist receives information from the environment that conflicts with his grandiosity, with his fantastic self-image, with his inflated self-perception, only then he uses his internal speech, the voices in his mind, the internal objects that speak to him. He uses these to suppress reality altogether.
Just a reminder, he, she can be this. It doesn't mean that only male narcissists. Just remember that using he as the pronoun when talking about narcissist is the agreed sort of fuck my brain. The agreed terminology when in these conversations. God, that makes sense enough. So he, she, same, they. But then they's plural. Very confusing.
And this is a process known as reciprocal inhibition. Actually, there's a neurological aspect to it. It really happens in the brain, and we can watch it happening in functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI. This is known as the brain's corollary discharge.
Bad word.
So what the narcissist
Discharge,
does,
bad word.
when there is a conflict between information, data coming from the outside and information and data coming from the inside, for example, his grandiose self-perception and self-image, this creates a cognitive dissonance. And to resolve the cognitive dissonance, the narcissist brain fires a specific cascade, multiple unit activity known as corollary discharge. And this creates reciprocal inhibition, a suppression of the external stimuli in favor of internal speech that is misperceived as external stimuli. Now you're beginning to understand the neurology behind the snapshotting or introjection process in the narcissist's mind.
So snapshotting. I briefly alluded to it earlier, and he hasn't covered it in the videos we're watching, but he does. So basically, when a narcissist comes across a potential target, and they're not looking for specific people, they're not looking for empaths, they're not looking for anyone in particular, but what they do is they create this idealized snapshot of you or that person in their mind, and then that's their point of reference forever. That's that idealized mother figure, and who can provide the narcissistic supply, right? And they then hold that snapshot as a mirror to you. Fascinating. They hold it, that snapshot, and they basically feed you with the victim with the idealized version of yourself that you wish you could be. They pump up your tires. Facts. Who's been there? The love bombing so many times. Like, it's intoxicating. It's spellbinding. That's what the terminology I've always used. And I know now. I had a feeling that the failings of my adoptive parents to properly pump up my tires, as a parent should do, within reason, to make a child feel good about themselves within reason, not overinflated sense of self. When somebody else comes along and paints you as being the most amazing person they've ever met, the best songwriter, the most beautiful, the most articulate, the most intelligent, the hardest working, all the things that, because narcissists are actually, they have cold empathy, which is different to warm empathy. Cold empathy is he will say it, we'll get to it, but narcissists tend to know you with their cold empathy, their laser vision of what you want to see in yourself, and they reflect that back at you as a snapshot, if that makes sense. I'm so proud of myself when I say things good. Oh no, I have these days I have a very negative view of, I know Shelley Pokemon is adopted also, and I'm not sure how she feels about it. And if you're, one's in the chat if you're adopted, but I have huge issue with subjecting any human child to adoption. But what's the alternative? I mean, it's a Hobson's choice, really. Yeah, Shelley. Because particularly add that to two narcissistic parents. Thanks universe. There's no way I was ever going to be nurtured. And yes, Princey, know what fills you up and how to destroy you. Absolutely. Cold empathy. But they need to do all of that for themselves. They need to do that so that they, the narcissist, can separate from their own, individuate from their own maternal figure in their life. And it never happens. It never ever happens. It's on repeat, rinse, repeat.
Mind where he replaces external objects, such as his intimate partner, with internal objects that represent the external objects in his mind.
Snapshot.
Gradually, of course, having been subjected to repeated messages from the outside that contradict, conflict with his self-image and self-perception, the narcissist begins to withdraw. The environment of the narcissist keeps bombarding him with countervailing information, data, and arguments. Reality keeps saying, you're wrong. You are not what you think you are. You're not who you think you are. And this is painful, and this is intolerable and unbearable. At some point, the narcissist cuts off reality, literally, physically. He goes into schizoid isolation, withdrawal, avoidance. The risk of experiencing pain is too much. But there's another risk. If you're grandiose, if you are self-deceptive, you are under threat. You keep generating danger for yourself. If you are approached by a gold digger and you tell yourself that you have garnered her attentions because you are irresistible, that's going to end badly sooner or later. If you believe that your audience find you awesome, admires and adulates you,
I love him so much.
while actually they find you revolting, they are fascinated by your freakishness and creepiness, that
He's talking about himself. I love him. He's the funniest cunt ever. Fuck, he's hilarious. Like, it's so subtle. He's so funny. He chuckles to himself. I'm a sucker for a narcissist. Yikes. I know myself too well. God.
is a problem. Misreading other people, cues, environmental, behavioral, sexual, others, is dangerous. Grandiosity, therefore, is dangerous. And to avoid the risk of being victimized or being penalized, the narcissist says goodbye to reality and becomes a solipsist.
Okay, pause.
An atom. But solipsism.
Pause. Solipsism. Now, I've even got supporting documents. Like, See how I can do this. I can do this. I sort of forgotten about how I could do this. Okay. What is solipsism? Solipsism syndrome is a psychological words line up in an orderly fashion. Out that revolving door as a sentence. Psychological condition characterized by the belief that only one's own consciousness is real and that the external world may not actually exist, or at least not in the way it's perceived. It's an extreme form of self-absorption where the individual feels disconnected from and detached from the outside world. So Sam is talking about narcissists when what's being said to them has that cognitive dissonance with what they have told themselves about themselves or the situation or that person, the snapshot. That's too much. And that solipsism separates them further from reality, right? What is it? Here's a more detailed breakdown. What it is, solipsism syndrome involves the conviction that one's own mental experience is the only reality and other people's minds and physical world may be illusions or simply not real. Key characteristics. Individuals with this condition often experience feelings of loneliness, detachment, and indifference to the outside world. Potential causes, extended isolation and other psychological factors, for example, narcissism and that cognitive dissonance, can contribute to the development of solipsism syndrome, not a medical diagnosis. While this term syndrome is used, it's not a formal diagnosis in the medical sense. It's a descriptive term for a psychological state. Connection to solipsism. Solipsism is a psychological theory that suggests that only one's own mind is real, while solipsism syndrome describes a psychological experience of feeling this way. Distinction from psychosis. Solipsism syndrome should not be confused with psychosis or delusions, which are typically associated with serious mental health conditions. Let's go back to Sam. My boyfriend.
Enhances the narcissist's gullibility and vulnerability. I once wrote about myself, it was 25 years ago. People make use of my grandiosity and paranoia, yet I cannot discard these cognitive distortions. They render me gullible and vulnerable to victimization, disrespect, and ridicule. I am my worst enemy. Okay, remember how the narcissist copes with this? He suppresses external stimuli by redirecting his attention to internal voices, to the speech acts or the internal speech.
He believes his own hype.
Objects in his mind, the introjects. Now, everyone does this. There is a study from the Department of Linguistics at the University of British Columbia. It was led by researcher Mark Scott. Scott theorized that copies of our internal voices produced by a predictive brain signal, the corollary. Copies can be created even when there is no external sound.
So this is
in effect, our inner voices are the result of our brain internally predicting our voices' sound, our own voices. So the brain keeps generating internal voices. The brain keeps anticipating and predicting. There's a predictive model about the environment, about the world, about reality, about other people, what they might do, might not do, etc., etc. And the brain generates internal speech. Scott knew that when external sensory information matched the internal copy that our brain had produced, that external information would be edited out. Yes, when the brain's prediction ends up matching reality, the brain discards reality. I'm going to repeat this because it's counterintuitive and it's bloody mind-boggling. Our brain keeps generating internal voices, and these internal voices keep telling us, this is what's going to happen, you should get prepared, you've done wrong, you've done right, this is the way to do it, etc., etc. These voices keep talking to us. They are introjects. If
Color says I have no internal dialogue. I think he's not necessarily talking about a conscious internal flow of dialogue. I think he's talking about something even deeper than that, where we put expectations on the world. So even if you're not aware of that, and I know there's plenty of people, well, plenty of people who say they don't have an internal dialogue. Your brain does tell you things, but you're just not aware of them. It's like how people say they don't dream. Everybody dreams, just not everybody remembers their dreams. So Simi says, I have internal arguments. So hang in there. He explains a scientific thing, and then when we get back to the practical / theoretical application of these scientific studies as to why the fuck narcissists say you didn't say shit when you did say shit, or that they didn't say shit when they did say that. Hank Brennan.
The voices, the content of the internal speech matches reality. The brain discards reality. The brain listens to the internal voices and prefers them to reality. Scott conducted the following experiment. When participants said certain syllables just in their heads, such as al, ar, bar, bar, all kinds of syllables, they were instructed to say these syllables in their heads. And then there was an external sound that matched the syllables that they were thinking of in their heads. The impact of the external sound was minimal to zero. In other words, the brain focused on the syllables produced by the internal voice, the internal speech, the internal objects, and ignored the syllables produced outside, externally, in the world, in reality. But when the internal syllable didn't match the external sound, the perception of the external sound did not diminish. So there was hearing involved. People were listening to a sound without engaging in any speech.
Yes,
imagery.
Grumpy Bear. Yes.
There was matching. The participants thought about the same external sound that they were hearing, and there was contrasting. The participants imagined a different sound than what they were hearing. And in all these cases, inner speech weakened the impact of external sounds when they were both the same. The study says the findings provide strong evidence that a system involved in processing external speech also works on internal speech. And this is reciprocal inhibition. Scott says the work is important because this theory of internal speech is closely related to theories of the auditory hallucinations associated with schizophrenia. And here we are beginning to diverge from normal. While normal healthy people prefer internal speech to external reality if the two match, if there's a match, the narcissist prefers internal speech to external reality if they do not match.
So that, keeping on going, but so if what you're saying isn't what the narcissist wants to hear, they don't hear it. It doesn't register. They disregard what you're saying and hold on to what they want to believe, because that's stronger for narcissists. Hang in there, chat.
As usual, the narcissist is a mirror image of a normal, healthy human being. That's why I keep saying I'm not quite sure that the narcissist is human. He's been wrongly wired, left to right rather than right to left or whatever. Narcissist is like a mirror image. I repeat, if you're a normal, healthy person, what goes through your mind will prevail if it matches reality. Your brain will ignore reality. Pay attention to what goes through your mind. But in the case of a narcissist, the narcissist brain will pay attention to the internal voices and the internal speech when they do not match reality. The narcissist brain will ignore reality because it is uncomfortable, challenging, countervailing, undermining, contradictory, dissonant. Then the narcissist withdraws inside and develops something called selective auditory attention. He listens to the internal voices and he bottlenecks the external ones. It's as if external voices get stuck in the very narrow neck of some imaginary bottle, so that they don't get through to the narcissist. So the narcissist shuts you off, cuts you off, ignores what you are saying. Consequently, is unable to understand what you are saying. This leads to dissociation, amnesia, memory gaps. Very often the narcissist will
Wild,
protest,
huh?
will say, you haven't said that, or you got it wrong, you said something else. Even if you were to produce a recording of what you have said, the narcissist would still deny it. And he would still deny it because he has truly no recollection. Your auditory output never reached his brain as auditory input because he was engaged in selective hearing, selective auditory attention. He was
So he wasn't listening. They weren't listening because it didn't match what they wanted to hear. So they just la 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 la.
filtering your speech. He was enhancing
Wild.
some parts of it, which were ego conformant or ego congruent. In other words, some parts of it which fitted him, fitted his narrative about himself, about the situation, about the world at large. So he was filtering and enhancing. And then he was engaging in.
So here's the thing. Gaslighting, and I've been, yes, it's an unintentional gaslighting because exactly, grass is green enough. Whereas psychopaths, 100% are intentionally crazy making you. Hank Brennan. Narcissists believe what's on the inside because that's all they want to believe, right? Hi, Micah. Good to see you. I don't know what you mean, colors. Probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't think the negative voices are actually from the person. What do you mean?
In a selective perception, we'll talk about it in a minute, and created a sensory contrast. He converted you into background noise, white noise. Do you remember the old televisions, black and white television?
Yes.
Those of you who, like me, were born in the age of the dinosaurs. Old black and white televisions with rabbit ears, this kind. When you turn them
I
on,
love him so much.
there was a screen of snowflakes, a screen of snow, white noise. The narcissist converts your speech into white noise, into background noise, and then contrasts his own internal voices with this field of noise. So his internal voices become the signal, and
Truth.
you are the noise. And there's a signal to noise ratio, a very common mathematical measurement of the efficacy of a filter in communication. You're becoming background against which his speech, his internal speech, is further emphasized. And he prioritizes the information so that you have very low priority, and his internal speech has very high priority. And all these mechanisms and processes are intended to do one and only thing: to preserve grandiosity intact.
Bingo.
Not to incur a dent in the grandiosity.
Bingo.
Not to risk the fantasy. Not to challenge the hallowed assumptions about oneself and others. The narcissist uses attentional control, aka concentration or focus. He chooses what to pay attention to and what to ignore.
Wild
He
shit.
has endogenous attention versus executive attention. So in his case, endogenous attention is emphasized at the expense of executive attention. Even more so, endogenous attention coming from the inside, attention to internal voices, attention to internal speech, suppresses, inhibits executive attention. Attention to information coming from the.
Micah. Boom. Dr. Wolf, 1 quadrillion% a narcissist. Wolf, like the real thing, not like the crash daddy. 1 quadrillion%. Think about even how old, like, I'm sorry, but this is a bit of a sidebar, but Dr. Wolf and Alessi, I think Dr. Wolf is younger than Alessi. Do we know? Look, I think narcissists, on the flip side of empaths and neurodivergent folk, tending to look a lot younger, eternally youthful, even when they kind of look older. I've found that the narcissists I come across look a lot older than their age, right? Who's 69, Wolf or Alessi? Either way, Alessi looks so much younger, right? I forgot what I asked. No colors, haven't. Schizophrenia, those different, like everybody, a lot of people have negative self-talk. They have a negative self-image at times. Those times can be more or less depending on where you're at in a narcissistic abuse recovery or in full-blown narcissistic abuse, or just your ability to believe in yourself. But I think schizophrenia is different. Schizoid, those voices, that's a different thing. Everybody has varying degrees of positivity or negativity about themselves on a sliding scale at different times in their life, in my opinion.
The outside. And all this is embedded in selective auditory attention, in selective hearing. Now, selective hearing is a normal process. Everyone has selective hearing. And this is why you can, for example, talk to someone in a cocktail party. So you're focused, you have selective hearing, you're focused on that person. Mother would wake up when the baby cries. Although a second before there was a car crash and it didn't wake her up. But the baby's whimper woke her up. That is selective hearing. But selective hearing becomes pathologized, malignant, and dysfunctional and maladaptive in sensory processing disorders. For example, in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, in post-traumatic stress disorder, in schizophrenia, as I mentioned, selective mutism, auditory processing disorders. And
sidebar, when I was at the height of my back end of my compound trauma in 2017, 2018, for about 3 years, I used to experience extreme auditory hallucinations, not voices talking to me. I used to hear music, very clear music, mariachi bands, all sorts of shit. I'd wind down my window to make sure it wasn't the car next to me, or I'd turn off everything and be like, what is that? What is that? Trauma response.
And I venture to add narcissism. The narcissist has something called selective retention. This is a process where he remembers accurately messages that reflected his interests, his values, his beliefs, his grandiose self-perception and self-image, his working model, working theories about other people's minds and the world at large, theory of mind and internal working model. When outside input from the outside, external auditory input, when he listens to you speaking, when you talk to him, he analyzes whether what you're saying conforms to everything I've just mentioned, the narratives, including the grandiose narrative. If what you're saying conforms, he retains it. And what you're saying, it challenges, undermines the stories that he keeps telling himself, he simply discards. He discards what you're saying. Anything that is in contrast with his self-image, his values, his beliefs, etc., he doesn't keep in memory. He narrows the information flow, to use a clinical term. So, selective retention. And finally, the narcissist has selective perception. He simply does not notice, and he quickly forgets stimuli that cause emotional discomfort, contradict prior beliefs, including the belief that he is godlike, omnipotent, omniscient, etc., etc. So he either doesn't notice or he quickly forgets, like instantly. Now, our attention is very much like a searchlight, or even more like a laser beam. We focus on one thing, and then we're unable to pay attention to other things that are happening under our nose. There's a famous experiment where students were instructed to count the score in a basketball game that was taking place on a screen up there. And then an actor came into the room dressed as an elephant, crossed the room twice, and exited. Only one of the 40 students noticed the elephant, because the others were focused on the game, so they didn't pay attention to the rest. Narcissist is the same. He's focused on the grandiosity game. He's keeping the score. His body is keeping the score. Exactly, yes, his brain is keeping the score. So anything you say will be measured and judged, whether it can enhance his ability to keep the score, whether it fortifies his self-perception, his beliefs about himself and others, the narrative that he spun. If what you're saying supports all these, great, you're in. He's going to retain. And first of all, he's going to perceive you. He's going to notice that you're there saying something. And then he's going to perceive that you are saying something. And then he's going to perceive what you're saying. But that's a tall order, because the narcissist selective perception is very selective. It's much more selective than perception. It's a process by which he perceives what he wants to. And he ignores all opposing viewpoints, data, information, arguments. He sees things based on his particular frame of reference. And at the end of this video, I will discuss the concept of framing. He categorizes, he interprets sensory information, sensor, including sensory information coming from you, because your speech is sound waves.
Yikes,
Sensory
Billy.
information, it's
Stay
auditory, it comes
safe.
from here and ends up here. So he uses categories and frameworks to somehow interpret what you're saying, and then favor categories or interpretations or information that support, uphold, buttress everything he anyhow believed. So the narcissist is a one-man echo chamber. He's a walking, talking, reified confirmation bias. He is totally biased all the time, because he interprets all information in a way that is congruent with his beliefs about himself and others, beliefs which are essentially cognitively distorted. So what's the difference between a healthy person and a narcissist? We all do this. We all do everything I've just said. We all do this. So what's the difference? The difference is that the narcissist, the selective perception of the narcissist is total. Like every single thing impacts on the narcissist's grandiosity, entitlement, envy. The narcissist has an extensive personality disorder. In other words, every single aspect, field, realm, dimension of the narcissist's personality, interpersonal relations, activity, cognition, negative emotions, everything is impacted all the time by all the information. So his selective perception is hundreds of times magnified over the selective perception of a normal person. And it envelopes and it captures all the sensory input, and then interprets it, categorizes it, suppresses it, and so on and so forth. Cognitive biases in psychology are based on selective perception, or expectations at least, and how expectations affect perception. Human judgment, decision-making, they're distorted by cognitive, perceptual, motivational biases. People tend to not recognize their own biases, but they easily recognize and even overestimate the biases in other people's judgment. And this is because they're bombarded with too much stimuli and information. They have to introduce some mechanism for prioritizing and filtering, and they have to pick and choose. And this involves perceptual vigilance and perceptual defenses and everything. But no one in his right mind applies selective perception to absolutely everything. The narcissist does. You tell the narcissist good morning, he selectively perceives it. He selectively retains it. And he hears you selectively. Did you say good morning in order to challenge him? Were you insulting him? This is hypervigilance. Did you say good morning?
The paranoia of it all. Ugh. Oh my God, it's wild. I love the confirmation, no bias, just confirmation that the people that I've identified as being narcissists are in fact narcissists, 100% diagnosing by all of the above. All of the above. It's like just a checklist. It's a fucking checklist. They're so basic and stupid. I'm completely entranced by him. Same. Yes. I got screenshots from our chat from someone of late. No, it wasn't recently. It was about 5 or 6 weeks ago. Saying, what the fuck is this? I'm like, man, it's just our chatting. Like, what the fuck? You're delusional and paranoid and it's palpable, man. Get over yourself, you fucking weirdo.
Morning because you were out to manipulate him to obtain some benefit. The paranoid ideation or the secretary ideation. So the totality and all pervasiveness of the selectivity of the narcissist amount to a delusional disorder. This is a great definition of a delusional disorder. A delusional disorder is when mechanisms of selective hearing, selective retention, selective perception go awry and take over the entire mental apparatus. Now, all of us engage in something called framing. We have concepts and theoretical perspectives on how we should behave, other people should behave, society even, groups of people, how we should perceive reality, how we should communicate about reality. It's framing is a theory, in effect, about how we think and how we communicate interpersonally. Thought or cognitive frames consist of mental representations, interpretations, and simplifications of reality, including rules of thumb or heuristics. Communication frames consist of the communication of the aforementioned frames between
we'll be around for about
actors or
another
between
45.
individuals.
45.
Framing is a key component of how we perceive the process of thinking and how we endeavor or strive to somehow breach the gap between two minds which are inaccessible except through language. It's a schema of interpretation, a collection of anecdotes, even stereotypes, in order to understand events and respond to them. We build mental filters through which we kind of understand or try to realize what's happening. We even apply these filters to biological facts, medical facts, cultural influences, societal expectations, sexual scripts, and so on and so forth. Framing involves social construction. It's a social phenomenon. You can't create frames
Hi, Catherine. Good to
if
see
you don't
you.
participate in a language community. If you don't somehow share perception of meanings with other people. You have words. You know, if I say water or if I say bottle, you and I are members of the same linguistic community. So we have an agreement on meaning, and we perceive this agreement identically, or you wouldn't understand my videos. Maybe the reason why you don't. Okay, this commonality is a frame. This is a type of frame. So we have frames in advertising, in religion, in culture, and so on and so forth. The narcissist's problem is that his frames are idiosyncratic. In other words, the frames of the narcissist, and by the way, the frames of the psychotic person, these frames are non-communicable because they are too individual.
So we don't understand why the fuck a narcissist does and says what a narcissist does and says because, what? What's wrong with you? You fucking weirdo. Joe Schmo, wait, how he says cunt. Yes. He also says, when he says gone, like when something's gone away, he says gun. It's gone. I can't even do it. He's so cool.
There's not enough sharing of meaning, not enough exegetic, interpretative, hermeneutic sharing. And so the narcissist's internal speech is so unique to him, that it's largely non-communicable. Narcissist faces huge communication barriers and tries to compensate for that by pretending to be someone he's not.
No
So
shit.
that people can interact with that, not
Yep.
with him directly, ever, but with that. And what is that? The false self, the image,
Yep.
the figure,
Yep.
the character,
Yep.
a hero,
Yep.
villain,
Yep.
genius.
Yep.
So the narcissist sabotages effective communication simply because he can communicate only externally. He can never communicate his internal world. And he cannot communicate his internal world because it's populated exclusively by internal objects that have very, very idiosyncratic, indigenous, native internal speech that is non-communicable. I remember that I keep saying there's an emptiness there. There's nobody home. There's no one there. And this is very true. There's no organizing principle. All the entities inside the narcissist's mind are equipotent. In other words, all of them express themselves, fight it out, create coalitions, take over self-states, and so on and so forth. And there is nobody is in charge. There's no one in charge. No one to say, stop here. Even in dissociative identity disorder, we usually have a host personality, which somehow regulates the alters, the other personalities. In narcissism and in borderline, this is missing. It's a chaotic landscape. And to preserve the little integrity there is, to survive simply, the narcissist needs to deny you the power of accessing his mind and then criticizing what you see or challenging it or trying, God forbid, to arrange the furniture.
Which is funny when I psychoanalyze the narcissists that I come across and I'm like, pinpoint, 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 pinpoint. And they're like, hey! I hold up a mirror and they hate what I show them. They hate what I show them because I can somehow, I spend a lot of time deep diving my soul to see whether I'm actually a narcissist because I get it. I get them. Maybe I'm just a seer and a prophet in addition to everything else. Lol.
Equivalence frames are when two or more logically equivalent alternatives are portrayed in different ways. This is known as a framing effect. Emphasis frames is when we simplify reality by focusing on a subset of relevant aspects of a situation or an issue. In equivalence frames, the information being presented is based.
He's reading some stuff there now. So Joe, he does have some prompts, some cues. But let's not forget that this is the guy who he's extended I think it was 1994 that he was diagnosed-ish, early to mid 90s. He's the one who, like, as an insider with a narcissistic brain, has then developed the theories that the existing sort of dogma, existing research at that time sort of proposed. He's done a lot to extend things like the processes in the idealization through to the discard, all of that. It's quite amazing. So he's talked because he's the founding father. Like it goes like Freud, Carl Jung, Sam Vaknin, like seriously wild. Can empaths be narcissists? Well, narcissists have cold empathy. That's why they can see through to your soul and show you what you want to see about yourself and then use that to destroy you. I think that I've always said in these Psychology Corner episodes that I believe not cognitive choice, but the choice of a child or a human to go 3 ways, I guess: narcissistic, empathetic, normal, regular human, mainstream, the bell curve of society. Excuse me, is a fork in the road. And nobody, I mean, nobody's all of everything. Nobody's all good. Nobody's all bad. Nobody's all. That's splitting. So I think we've all got a little bit of. We do. Everyone's got. Narcissists have empathy, and empaths have narcissism. So logic without emotion is appealing. Vulcan vibe. Yes, I like to be able to keep my objectivity in the face of emotive subjects, but who's Vulcan? I don't know. Are there 9F? Are there levels of narcissism? I think there's degrees. There's degrees. There's people who have leanings towards narcissistic traits, and there's people who are full-blown delusional, so wrapped up in their narcissistic tendencies that they are diagnosably narcissistic. And then there's those one further step who are the psychopaths, who are like a fucking nightmare. A fucking nightmare. All right, what do we got? We got 3 minutes
It's
left.
based on the same facts,
We'll
but the
finish this one.
frame in which the facts are represented are not the same. They change. So this creates a reference-dependent perception. This is what the narcissist does, in effect. You and the narcissist are in the same situation. You're in the same environment, the same event. Both of you absorb the same data, the same information. What the narcissist would do, he would create equivalence frames. He would frame it his way, which essentially has nothing to do with your way, but still incorporates all the data. So he appears to be sane. He appears to be, it's just, he would tell you, it's just a matter of opinion, you know? There's my truth and your truth. There's alternative facts. Rings a bell.
He's not a big Trump
So
fan,
the
by the way.
narcissist would always challenge the way you see reality. And this is wrongly perceived as gaslighting.
Here we go.
It's not gaslighting.
Talking point.
The narcissist really sees things differently, as distinct from the psychopath. The psychopath really gaslights you. Psychopath manipulates you by challenging your perception of reality and undermining it so that you don't trust your judgment any longer. The narcissist doesn't do that. He simply can't have it your way. He can't accept your take on things. He needs to substitute his mind for your mind.
That
He
stuff
needs to
inside
take
his
over
head,
your
yeah?
mind, snatch it, subjugate it, consume it, assimilate it, regulate it, call it anything you want.
Own it.
Similarly, the
He wants to
narcissist
own
uses emphasis frames.
because he's got nothing.
Rather than, for example, tackle a whole situation, an entire situation, he would isolate one element. And he would obsessively and compulsively focus on that element, a subset, some aspect, and he would magnify it, a mole, you know, until, and he would magnify it. And he would render this aspect or this element or this figment the most important thing. And he would develop a whole argument about it, a whole debate and fight and conflict and what have you. So narcissist speech is very manipulative. And I recommend that you watch the video that I've made about the 8 or 10 ways that narcissists weaponize speech and distort it. But again, there is this misperception in the online community of self-styled experts. They're dogs and mother-in-laws, because they're all experts nowadays. The narcissist, as opposed to the psychopath, as distinct from the psychopath, the narcissist is not premeditated. He is not evil or malevolent. He is just who he is, period. He is not someone you would like to be with. He is pernicious. He is virulent. But he is more like a virus. He is more like a tiger. You say, yeah, but the tiger doesn't have a mind. The tiger can't choose right from wrong. The tiger can't make moral decisions and ethical decisions. Neither can the narcissist. Because many of the processes that I'm describing are totally unconscious. Totally. Go through my last 20 videos. All these unbelievable distortions of the mind, they're unconscious. The psychopath does all these things consciously. He's ruthless. He's merciless. He's cruel and callous. The narcissist just stumbles through life.
So good.
He's a bubbling fool.
So
He's
good.
gullible. He's stupid, pseudo-stupid. And he
Oh, I love
tries
it.
to survive by pretending that he is not he, by mimicry. It's like, you're looking at me, but you're wrong. It's not me. I'm someone else. It's infantile. It's what a child would do. Did you break the vase? No, it wasn't me. It was my imaginary friend. And that's who the narcissist is, a child.
Now, so that that he does break it all down well. I understand all of his explainings. Yes, good. I'm glad. I was hoping that it wouldn't be too cerebral for you all on a Friday. I'm really happy that you're all relatively following along. We've lost a few people along the way, but that's okay. There must be something else starting, or they're just sick of it. Lol, that's fine with me. Lisa, do narcissists have other diagnosed, undiagnosed mental social issues as well? Do they go hand in hand? You'll find a lot of like narcissists will often have things like how am I going to word this? Like anti-social stuff. But narcissists in our society are celebrated, and the narcissistic person who's a go-getter, who doesn't give a fuck about what's going on around them, who just forges through, who cares only about the narcissist, tends to succeed in our society. And they're so audacious with their assertions that everybody gets sort of swept up in their wake. And so I think there's an increase in narcissistic tendencies in society, statistically. That's what I understand. I think there's a lot of depression. I feel like there's a higher rate of suicidality. Is that a word? Suicide? But I'm just pulling things out of my brain from what I've assimilated along the way. So, but see, most narcissists don't think that they have anything wrong with them. Ostensibly, they refuse to acknowledge that. That's the whole point of everything they do, is to deflect and to smoke and mirrors that shit, right? And to forever, perennially try to detach from the mother. So they are often don't go and get help. Yeah, I was going to say substance use disorders, yes. But very rarely would they end up being diagnosed. I find it like diagnosed and taking it on. It's a small percentage, I think, which is why to me it's so fascinating that he's just embraced it. I fucking love it. I love it. Like deeply awkward. Is that part of something else? 4 categories. There's different types of narcissism: in malignant, covert, grandiose, and vulnerable. Vulnerable and covert narcissists are in the same sort of. They're covert. It's harder to pick them. I didn't pick the pirate at all. Malignant and grandiose are the more obvious ones that we all know and love. Hi, Patricia. Good to see you. Well, yes, to our eyes, to the narcissist, they're just saying it how it is because that's what their internal monologue or what's what their internal frame tells them. That's their reality. Wild. Now, we're going to play a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave the. That's really good. We'll do next weekend. I've got covert narcissist, sadistic envy, fantasy. It's very helpful to understand a lot of the shit that went down with the monkeys. I found it interesting, quite extreme stuff. But So we'll do that next week. And then I'm also going to play next week. We'll do a bit more of Sam. He did this amazing Q&A with a weird, I don't know, I feel like he maybe wrote the questions, but he said it was under the guise of a commenter on one of his videos asking him these questions. So it's kind of weird. It's audio only with the pictures, just pictures of Sam flashing up like a PowerPoint, like a slideshow coming across. But he talks about himself. I really want to interview him. But let's instead go to, because this is shorter and the other one is a bit longer, and I want to finish up in time for Feral Friday, which is, we might go a little bit over, but we'll get there for not too long after it starts. Publicly buzzed, if you're not already, do yourself a favor. Best time on a Friday, other than Camp Shorty, obviously. Now, so let's do this instead, because this I found interesting as well, and it's relevant because it's on the thumbnail. I just haven't added it in yet. Oh, what have I just done? Fuck. Share screen, that. So, 4 signs a narcissist is about to discard you. Sam, let's go.
Resembles very much the separation phase, not only in early childhood, but also in adolescence.
Excuse me. So at the end of at the start, it's the finding or identifying the person who's going to be just right for that narcissist, to give them their narcissistic supply, to help them separate from mother, and then there's all the love bombing, the idealization, and then they need that process to separate. They need to devalue and then discard. So that's what we'll get into a bit here. We probably won't get through all of it, but I'll link it in the description box.
There is a second
separation
phase in adolescence. The narcissist, when he discards you, is very much like an adolescent. He's defiant and reactant. He's contemptuous. He distances himself. He defines his identity in contradistinction to your identity. We call it negative identity formation. His identity is the opposite of your identity. He's like, he's not you. That's his identity. And he's approach avoidant. All these are very common among adolescents who are separating from parental figures. And they are very common among narcissists in the discard devaluation phase. So in the narcissist's mind, when he already starts devaluing you, he had already discarded you. He has already discarded you. In his mind,
ostensibly,
you are discarded. The narcissist devalues you because he has already discarded you in his mind. He hasn't discarded you in reality because he has to keep you around. He didn't tell you to walk away. He didn't break up with you because he needs you to hang on. He needs your availability. He needs to have access to you in order to devalue you. But in his mind, you are long gone.
Gun. There it is. Gun.
Evaluation in the narcissist's mind follows discard. By the way, exactly like separation in reality. In the separation phase from mother is idealized. Then the child separates.
See how I already said
this? The child devalues mother. He develops a more realistic perception of mother, which includes her bad aspects.
Sometimes I'm smart.
Aspects, shortcomings, failings, flaws. The realistic image of mother following the separation phase at age 2 to 3 is a devalued image. Because prior to separation, mother is perfect. She's godlike. After separation, she is a mere human. She is devalued. So the narcissist goes through the same phases in his mind and in reality, but in reality, he has to keep you around. So he gives you the impression that you have not been discarded, but that's a lie. Because in his mind, even before he starts with the first hint of devaluation, you're long gone. You're no longer with him.
Gun.
What are the signs of imminent devaluation? How can you tell when the narcissist has discarded you in his mind and is about to embark on a campaign of degradation, denigration?
So I'm just going to pause and say I'm giving this a preemptive no shit, because I think this is, you can tell in a relationship when whatever, any kind, even with a boss or a family member, whatever it is, you can tell when they've decided you ain't it anymore and that your shit does stink after all. But anyway, carry on, Sam.
Humiliation, contempt, devaluation against you. How can you tell? The transition from love bombing, shared fantasy, to devaluation is very often abrupt and inexplicable. It's a whiplash. It's mind contorting. It's utterly incomprehensible. It's a bolt from
Like,
the blue.
what the
It's a
fuck happened?
Thunderstroke. It's people feel disoriented, dislocated, discombobulated, confused. They don't know what to do. They internalize shame and guilt. They castigate themselves and chastise themselves. I've done something wrong, maybe. Did I provoke him? Did I misbehave? They don't know what to think. They don't realize that's an internal dynamic. It's inside the narcissist's mind. It has nothing to do with them. The narcissist's intimate partner is flabbergasted. She is heartbroken precisely because she can find no reason, rational or irrational, for what's happening. She doesn't realize that she is just an artifact. She's just a symbol. The narcissist's mind is in operation. These stages, idealization, discard, devaluation, they all take place within the narcissist's mind. They are artifacts of his mind. They are processes that unfurl and unfold in his brain. They have nothing to do with external reality. They have nothing to do even with you. Any and all intimate partners go through the same inalienable, indistinguishable phases. You are utterly interchangeable. You're a commodity, like a grain of rice or an internet service provider. It's not about you, and you've done nothing wrong. It's about the narcissist and the inexorable, ineluctable, inevitable processes that infest his mind, because it's an infestation. But how can you tell that it's about to happen? This inevitability. The first thing is emotional absence. Suddenly, the narcissist is indifferent and cold and detached. There is affected civility, ostentatious politeness, the use of language which is not intimate and alienating, formal language, cold language, freezing language.
I hope this email
Narcissist
finds you
is
well.
absent
Lol.
in every possible way. He
Yeah,
pays no
well,
attention to
without
what
you
you're saying.
around,
He doesn't
fuckwit.
commiserate, doesn't offer support or succor or help or
Suck
advice.
off.
He shows no interest in you and your life, even more than typically. He's gone. For all intents and purposes, he's gone. That's the first telltale sign.
Gun.
You see this happening? A sudden transition from the warmth and affection and engulfment of the shared fantasy.
Best.
Transition
Many
from this
thanks. Many
cold
thanks.
absence. You know that discard and devaluation are afoot, to borrow from Sherlock Holmes. And then the second phase is constant criticism and denigration of absolutely everything you're doing, of everything you're not doing, of everything you're thinking and everything you're feeling, every communication or lack of communication, every choice, every friend, every family member, and even your past. Total and constant criticism, for example, of your sexual history. So putting you down, demolishing you brick by brick, undoing you, disentangling you, breaking you to pieces, to smithereens,
You're very welcome.
leading
Lindsay.
to a
It's
state
amazing.
of falling apart and disintegration under these constant hammer blows or Chinese water torture. The criticism is
Yes.
astute because the narcissist possesses cold empathy.
Ready for Feral
He
Friday,
knows
life
which buttons to
artist.
push. He realizes where your vulnerabilities lie. He knows the chinks in your armor. He is able to penetrate and intrude and invade you in more ways than you know. The narcissist knows you to some extent better than you know yourself. And if you've been long enough with a narcissist, you have become his creation. So he's like a sculptor destroying his own sculpture. And this constant barrage of degradation and humiliation and criticism serves as a voice, becomes a kind of externalized, harsh critic instead of an inner critic, an outer critic, but as lethal and as destructive as a sadistic superego or sadistic inner critic. The narcissist conflates this behavior with passive aggression, silent treatment, standing aside, non-benign or malevolent, actually, non-intervention. He sabotages and undermines initiatives, rejects offers and suggestions.
Sabotages. I'm just going to put a pause there and say, yes, can strongly identify with things in my world being sabotaged as part of this process relatively recently. Hi, Mr. Meathook. I finally ordered your holographic sticker. It should come to you within the next week. I'm sorry it took me a little while. Time. Who even knows? What is time?
Avoids contact, withdraws, denies sex and intimacy, for example. This passive aggression, coupled with aggressive criticism, complete the entire picture of human aggressive behaviors. In other words, the narcissist is aggressive during the devaluation phase in every manner known to humanity. He makes unfavorable comparisons between you and other women, for example. If you are
Hard, yes.
female intimate partner,
Devastating.
he would make unfavorable comparisons between you and other women. In a way, triangulate, provoke your jealousy, get a rise out of you, humiliate you, and make you feel ashamed of yourself, utterly destabilize the foundations of your self-esteem and self-confidence, drive you to the corner where you would cower with pain and hurt, cause you to neglect yourself and abandon these aspects of you which used to matter to you, for example, your looks, or maybe your education, or maybe your social life. He would constrict your life. He would denude you of everything that made you happy. He would push you into the territory of anhedonia, inability to experience pleasure, and dysphoria, bordering on depression. The narcissist sets you up for failure and pushes you to misbehave. These are his instruments in order to shame you, to guilt trip you, to emotionally blackmail you, to prove to you and to show you how inferior you are, how imperfect you are, how stupid you are, how gullible you are, how much better you could have done had you just put your mind to it, so how lazy and indolent you are. In order to do all this, the narcissist needs you to fail, encourages you to fail, creates situations in which you are liable to fail. There's no other way but to fail. And he pushes you to misbehave. Narcissists have been known to push their partners to cheat on them, to misbehave with other men or women. Narcissists have been known to push their partners to commit antisocial acts, crimes, to behave recklessly, to develop addictions. Narcissists drive
Crimes. I was on a good behavior bond for a year because of an under duress shoplifting situation with my psychopathic ex, George. I'm also triggered, Princey. Did you notice my face like this? Tough to listen to. So what I'm thinking is shit's getting a little heavy. So we're gonna leave it for tonight, and also Feral Friday starts in a minute. 12 minutes give or take Steve time. So yes, Princey, big hugs. I'm really proud of you all for hanging in there. Hey Jody, good to see you. This was kind of a heavy one, not super feral at all, and also Simi. Yes, also me. It's like this is heavy stuff that's important. I am on the perpetual goal of learning, because all this stuff helps me understand myself better, and it's painful, painful. I've had some really awful light bulb moments, awful but amazing light bulb moments in the last few weeks. Watching Sam, Professor Vaknin. I've gone back and watched some Dr. Ramani to give the flip side to that coin, because she talks about healing and it's a little more palatable. Dr. Ramani, it's coming from the side of a survivor and a clinic, a therapist, whereas Sam is the narcissist. Even me, the way I feel about Professor Vaknin tells me a lot about myself. Excuse me. My father, adoptive father, is a medical academic, a narcissist, very withholding of any warmth or encouragement, or very neglectful. I have many abandonment issues. And so this is, I'm identifying, I knew those things, innately, but realizing like, wow, man, like I'm here going, Professor Vaknin, he's a fuckwit. He's a very smart man. He's very open about himself, and we will watch that next Friday. I think it's about a half an hour video, so we'll just do 2 videos. We'll do the one about malignant envy. Yikes! The need to destroy the perceived slighter. It was me. By the covert, generally the covert narcissist, and we'll watch the stuff that the little snippet of Q&A that where Sam talks very frankly about his experience and the way he views people as a narcissist. It's absolutely fascinating. Yes, Princey, Vaknin gives us a look inside. Absolutely. Jody, I've been wondering about your you find Dr. Ramani a bit too triggering? Right. Wait, damn, I just woke up and I missed it. I've been wondering about your body clock. Mine's all over the place, but mine's right back. I wake up at like 2:30 in the morning, but you're still up. How you been? Very interesting. Very interesting. Look at us with all our feet in different time zones all over the world. Well, all of you states people are just living your best life with one time zone. Us, not so much. Yikes. Excuse me. Sorry about the throat clearing. I choked on my enthusiasm before and I'm paying for it. So that tomorrow night we're doing just one mega with internet. Thank you so much for being so helpful and understanding and supportive last weekend. That was an absolute fucking shit show, and I appreciate you all very much for hanging with me every one of those parts of what the fuck is this live stream. It was all over the place, and I thank you. And we'll do tomorrow night. We're going to just do we'll do the recap as one stream starting at 6 Eastern. And then Salty Sleuth Investigates, I'm going to set up a separate stream so we can come in and she can come in and we can ask her where she's at with things now after week 5 of the trial. So that. Thank you so much for your vulnerabilities and your everything, just being here. I appreciate you all very much. Enjoy the not too triggering but different defense rests on USA time. Yes. Fascinating meat hook. Yes. The show must go on, and it did. Yes. We did, and with so much thanks to Motion to Scream. What the fuck, granted, I think I broke her. I think I broke you last week, and I'm so sorry for that. It was fucking exhausting. Ay. So, Feral Friday. I think I should get some brownie points for finishing up in time for Feral Friday. We're not even going to be late if you do. Oh, good. Good. So go in and subscribe to Professor Sam Vaknin if you're intrigued and want to know more. There's like content for fucking days. If you need a break, a nice light break from Karen Reed trial stuff, here. Step into the shadows of yourself and your life, your life lived experiences. It's pretty cool. So we'll see you all tomorrow night. Steve will be late anyway. This is why I know. And we've got Jessica for Justice, who's awesome. She always gives she'll bring the sage. Who knows what the movies are we are going to be voting on. Steve is already in chat. Wait, what? Oh my God. Hope it's a good movie tonight. Same. Well, we're going to get to vote, Patricia. So head on over, even if you just go, so it's YouTube for the first little bit, publicly buzzed. Shelley, you want to drop a link? And then we get head over to Kick. Kick is also so much fun. It's the one time every week I truly just relax. So best time ever. I love you all very much. Thank you, mods. Thank you, chat. Thank you, shorties. Thanks, Dave. When I saw you pop in, you know what? I was like, I don't know if this would be Dave's jam, but here you are, loving it. Love you, friend. Love you, friend. I'll see you all tomorrow night, if not Feral Friday. My earbud. Look, Motion to Screen, what the fuck, Granted's already changed over the background. Best ever producer. Love, 10/10. Mwah. Thank you. I love you all very much. Fuck narcissists. Like, fuck them. And I love Sam Vaknin.
I love you all so very much. We had a blast, just chatting and stuff. Things may have gone bit off the rails. Professional when all else fails. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. We're skating through all the tough things, learning about this and that, defense motions, prosecution, and narcissistic twats. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the all caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. Community, just you and me. Occasionally, Buster and Poppy. It's a whole thing, Miss Shorty swing. Together we make each other happy. 'Cause chat is babe.